Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of the Slot One Super Podcast, episode number 56. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my lovely, amazing, awesome, smart co host. We have the Massing in, and we have Villavine. Say hi.
Ooh,
Yo, how's it going, everyone? It's good to be back.
let's go. We're here. We're ready to go.
Uh,
We got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yes.
yeah, it's crazy. Even though the 2 weeks definitely helps build content, and so we could provide better content to y'all. I just I'm like, dang, I can't talk about Dokkan each week anymore like that, But
Mhm.
even though, well, I guess I make YouTube videos on it every day. But anyways, besides that, we have some good things to discuss here. But before we continue on, I want to let y'all know if you want to support the podcast or you have any questions or concerns, you could go ahead and leave a dono. If you want to go ahead and do know any donations and super chats will be read out at the end of the podcast. Again, just y'all watching is helpful, but in case you want that little extra support and for us to directly read your comment, we definitely would appreciate you doing so. But continuing on from there, again, anniversary is coming up very close, right, guys? I mean, how long is it exactly? Like less than 2 months at this point, if I'm not mistaken. Because what's it called? We have the thought process just escaped my mind. So again, global players, I always would like to bring this up because of the fact that you guys are having like this new schedule compared to JP being the normal schedule, but
Yep.
anniversary characters drop basically on January 28th.
Damn.
So that is again way close by than what you guys are expecting.
Yep.
So again, keep saving your stones. I never really asked Ningen, but like, how do you feel about that? Like anniversary being so much closer. Do you like it in this time frame, or do you like the global time frame
Man,
that we
it's
used to have?
tough because it's like, it is that thing that we obviously know. I know it's been a thing for JP players for the longest time, so I can't really complain about it. But like, it is that thing where basically everything towards the end of the year, heroes, like thinking about the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest and stuff, you have to think so much harder about whether or not you actually want to summon for it or not, because then the anniversary is so soon afterwards. Whereas obviously for global, nothing really happens in like January or February. It was just like super quiet. And then, we just got the filler stuff like catching up the Dokkan Fest from JP. A lot of stuff was like an easy skip anyway. And then a lot of people were just kind of saving up and building up towards July for the anniversary. But it meant if you wanted to summon for heroes or you wanted to summon for like, the December carnival, because last year, obviously, Global doesn't get the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest either at the same time. It will now. But like last
Mm-hmm.
year with the 21 and then the carnival like Super Saiyan trio, you were a little bit safer if you wanted to summon for them because you had more time to wait, whereas obviously now you don't. So it's kind of crazy to think that it's like less than 2 full months away and it will be the anniversary. So it's something like, even for me as like a content creator, it's like I want to summon for all these new units that are coming out, but then at the same time I very much have to be aware that like I can't go crazy for all of this stuff that's coming out, like the Carnival LR and then the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest, because then it's going to be not long until all the anniversary stuff comes out. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Like we knew the sync always would be, because the big thing was a lot of people, global players over the years, like you'd always see the same subject come up like throughout the year as it carried on, is that a lot of people would lose hype for the anniversary because we had to wait so long. It was like the only thing
Mm-hmm.
that stayed pretty much almost exactly 6 months behind JP. Whereas, over the years, things like banners and especially things like quality of life updates, the amount of time between JP and Global had come down tremendously, except the anniversary, because it's obviously on a specific date. So many people, like, no matter how hype like Beast Gohan was when he came out on JP and was like part two, best unit in the game, and then on Global you have to wait 6 months for him to come out. So obviously in terms of hype and things like that, it's much better this way. But yeah, you just have to be a lot more careful with using your stones and everything, which like I say, can't really complain because that's the situation the JP players have always been in. But it is definitely interesting now us being in that same boat as well. So
Yeah, no, I think that that's very fair. Uh, because how would JP's schedule kind of usually works is that the JP schedule has something every other most month. It almost feels like. Oh, my camera is
Mhm.
kind of crooked now, isn't it? Let me try to fix it a little. We just sorry about that chat. You know, I want y'all to make sure you get a good look at my face. Let me know if I think that's a little better. I feel like I'm kind of like crooked in here. That's why my chair keeps like messing up. I'm just like a mess, Loki, but that's fine. Um, yeah, I'm centered. Okay. Anyways, continuing on from that. Uh, I do want to say that it's basically like you said, Ningen, where JP plays, we always have to keep in mind about there's New Year's, the December Carnival, like basically in a 2 week time frame, and then we have anniversary after that, and then we have Saiyan Day after that, and then we have Golden Week. It's like a lot of things that happen in that short time period that I feel like in global it's usually feels more spaced out, or like let's say the New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest. Usually the New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest, those characters don't end up aging like really good. Sometimes they end up aging fine, but it's like
hmm.
global sees those characters in December. They're like, oh, those characters look really good. Then anniversary happens. Then whatever power cup goes on, and then when global usually would get those characters in April, it's like, well, they're not really as crazy, anymore. At least it feels like that, especially after post anniversary power cup and stuff like that, right? Kind of happened this year, right, with Dragon Fist and Haruto Guard,
Hmm.
and especially with it being before Golden Week. But now you could say that it's going to be more tempting to summon on these characters because they're going to be out like that. So I think it's just interesting, and it's a perspective you guys do need to keep in mind that, how things usually end up. Anniversary will usually have some power creep. So I just wanted to make sure, we would just want to make sure you guys, like, properly were saving your stones and managing your stones properly if you're especially a free to play player, because you don't want to be hit with anniversary and you're like, bro, I spent like 600 stones on on dual Dokkan Fest New Year's, I don't know, Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Although, I wouldn't blame you for that, but like,
Yeah.
um, we'll see what happens there. But of course, we should still be talking about what's going on right now. And his banner is still out currently, but we did get brand new Dokkan Festival Buuhan. This
Ooh.
guy is a character I've been waiting
Oh
for some
yes.
time. I'm sure a lot of us have been. Uh-huh, for sure. Vilify, what are your thoughts on this Dokkan Festival Buuhan? Anything like his banner, just his character, even his animations.
Well, I do think that the banner situation is interesting between JP and Global. I'd be lying if I said I
Mm.
knew who was on the Global version, but I do know that Roshi came back on
Teq
the.
Teq
Bardock.
Bardock. Yeah.
Ooh, there you go.
Exciting.
He's got a scouter.
Dokkan banner situation is crazy, chat.
There you go.
Mm.
Yeah, but I like this Buuhan. I think that he's doing a lot. I like that his domain is doing what it does. Right, the support that he is providing defensively. I like the way he holds it down. And I think that the way that he can kind of make characters look more impressive, like, I saw people talking about like how the other Buuhan is, the physical LR. I thought that was interesting. And I like that they're kind of taking
Mm.
this route of Dokkan Fest characters being like this supporting, like the way that LRs are now, right? Where we think about these top tier LRs that not only are they self sufficient and the best characters in the game, they're also being support for other characters. You think about Beast Gohan with the crit chance support and the key that he's giving when he gets hit. You think about the trio with all the support that they're providing for the team. And now we're starting to get that with like Lord Slug doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
We've got Roshi is a very good support Dokkan Fest, and then we have Buuhan as well. So I'm a big fan of what this Buuhan's bringing to the table, and hopefully it means more for like Majin power characters going forward. Not gonna get into spoiler territories, but we know where Daima's heading potentially could be an interesting take, and I think this Buuhan's a good start. So hopefully anniversary doesn't power creep him out. You never really know with these TURs. This is kind of like a unit purgatory, if you will, the space between the anniversary or worldwide and anniversary. Like we've seen characters like AGL Trunks and stuff like that, where they just got completely washed out within like 3 months, right? And so I think this Buuhan is set up to the point where he's not going to have to deal with that. I think Lord Slug is in a situation where he's going to have enough damage reduction to hopefully survive the 10th anniversary. We don't know where the levels of power creep are going to be. If we go based on like the last 3 years as like a sample size, it's like 7-year, we saw a massive jump. 8-year was kind of like a jump, but not a big one. And then 9-year was, again, another massive jump. So we don't know how 10th anniversary is going to go, but hopefully that this Buuhan, I think he is set up to the point where he could survive it. But it's really just going to come down to like how viable are the units around him. Because I think he'll be fine. It's just a matter of how is his team going to look, I think.
I would say when it comes to that, it's always like I'm of the opinion that Buuhan and Slug probably won't phase too well in 10th anniversary content. And it's not because of the characters themselves, but I think it's just because they're dependent on the characters around them to be at their max potential. Which,
Right.
right now it's not a bad thing because those teams are perfectly fine. Demonic power is, able to work fine. Power absorption is able to work fine in all content. But then you still have some of these characters, like, I don't know, let's say on Buuhan's team, you kind of do run physical LR Buu tanks. Sometimes you maybe run LR Kid Buu. Some of these characters that are a little
LR Kid Buu.
LR Kid
Minato's
Buu.
got the secret future release.
Physical
What?
Kid Buu.
He said LR Kid Buu. That's what I heard.
He did, yeah.
Oh, chat. Sorry, chat. I'm here with the leaks.
He's leaking.
My bad. Oh, I should have
You're talking about the ghosts now.
But even like Exchange Buu, like there's characters that people are running that no, they're not. I'm looking at the list right here. It's just not. It's like not the best pool of characters right now, but it's definitely more than enough to run in content. But then if you think about like a power creep jump, like again, physical LR Buu tanks is going to kind of phase out. Physical Kid Buu, right? He's also going to phase out. Maybe the biggest character I could see that ages well into the next content is Fat Buu. But it could be a situation where because it's like even if he gets one shot turn 1, he comes back with the Ghost Usher. It's like in Buu. Like it just turned into an Int Buu, just like praise, but Int Buu is gonna age really well. But like just look at the rest of the team, and he needs the full rotation for Super Buu. That's important. And then if it gets to a point where you need Super Buu out, but then Buuhan himself is not enough for these bosses, already Buuhan could be in situations where he dies to Super. So that's where I could see this Buuhan not aging well. But we'll see. I mean, he always might be just a valuable option as a floater character, right? He is supporting transformation boost. That's huge, and he does get his passive up with transformation boost. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of those characters upcoming, even in 10th anniversary potentially. So I don't really think it's going to be like majorly bad for him. I just think that he might not phase well into there. And then Lord Slug is interesting because demonic power will definitely continue to get buffs with Daima going on, but we just have to see how far they take it that direction. We have to wait and see because the Majin Boos are on, demonic power. So, any of the Majin characters from the Majin realm should likely be in there. Actually, is Deborah on the category
For demonic power?
Yeah, he should be.
He should be.
Oh,
I can double check.
I don't know. Isn't he the king of the demon realm?
I mean, it'd be kind of stupid if he wasn't. Let's
I never checked.
Bobby and Deborah are on demonic powers, so that I take it physical Deborah's on.
Yeah,
he
I found a Deborah on there. Yeah, okay, we're good. But I just wanted to double check and make sure. But either way, I think that that's my opinion on this guy in terms of aging. I think he's just really good right now, regardless. I would say he has a strong argument for even being best TUR. I know. I mean, and I saw the other day you put a tier list.
I was literally about to say. I saw your comment of we need to have a chat about Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Yeah, we do need to have a chat about Super Saiyan 3 Goku, but let's talk about Buuhan first.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I have one. Sorry, can I go real quick? Minato?
Yeah, go for it.
This is one thing. I have one character that Minato who isn't going to age out with the 10th anniversary content, and that is Mr. Buu. Mr. Buu. He's ready to go.
Let's chill. Anyways,
but yeah, I think
fan of Mr. Buu.
I use him on Boo's team, funnily enough.
now.
I think against Janemba, but like if you don't pick up like the full rainbow orbs, he can still take some big damage. But yeah, he's good. Yeah, but I think Buuhan's really good. He's definitely one of those characters that like I really wanted to try and get a copy of without too much trouble, because as we've already discussed, we're in that kind of, you know, coin purse, like purse pinching kind of period where you just want to keep hold of as many stones as possible, right? So I got super lucky. I did get the global tickets, global W, and get him on the second ticket multi. So I didn't actually spend any stones on his banner. It would have
Hearing
been,
this.
yeah, no, it's quite good.
Crazy
The
cool.
global W coming in, you love to see it. But yeah, I think he's really good. He's really fun. Definitely not a slot one unit, and at least especially at 55%. But I think I really like the fact that his team, you can just benefit from running LR physical Janemba, and having the two of them together is crazy. Like once Janemba gets built up, and then the support that you get from Buuhan, I've had turns with Janemba dropping like 30 million attack stat like turns and stuff, while obviously being an insane defensive unit. So yeah, he's a super fun unit. He's got a decent design. Like I say, he's a bit less defensively strong as I had hoped. I suppose, like again, with my experience of him at 55%.
Right.
Even with like in the Super Buu, I think because mine's not fully link leveled, but like even when you transform him into Super Buu, depending on how many orbs you pick up, you obviously get that big extra defense buff. But obviously, you know, you can still get. I think especially against Janemba, using Janemba as the example, right? One of the hardest hitting like turn one bosses that we have at the moment. Even like at 55%, like Super Buu in slot one can still get destroyed by Janemba. But I don't really use him as a slot one unit, so I think he works fine without that. It is interesting that his transformation, you obviously want power absorption if you want to get the transformation super early. So I don't know what you guys think, but like as far as I know, unless I'm missing anything, he doesn't really have any build up or anything that you need to get in the Buuhan form. So really you just want to transform into Super Buu as soon as possible, get those stacks, because then once you go back to being Buuhan again, then even at 55%, I've had turns where he's doing like 17 million attack and stuff, whereas pre Super Buu, he's doing like 4 to 5 million, which isn't super impressive, but obviously he trades that off again. I'm still talking about 55%, but he trades that off by being very strong defensively post super, having the guard, having the support. So the attack stat not being that high, like right at the start, I don't think is a huge negative. And then yeah, once he gets the build up from the Super Buu phase, then obviously he does. He do go crazy a little bit. So
This is
You see,
yeah.
Ningen, I see your point for sure. I just think that it's a little bit of a global player take because of Goku Frieza. That's all I'm gonna say. In that event, you definitely want to save Super Buu for the end.
yeah, no, I was gonna say there
But
is
Gogeta and Janemba, it's like there's no point.
yeah, in tougher events, like I guess, but yeah, when you in slightly longer events, you probably want to save it, like any other kind of active skill or anything, right? But
You said tougher events like Goku or Frieza is not tough. I mean, that's great.
yeah, no, I meant longer events.
Yeah, I know. No, but jokes aside, though I was gonna say as well, I was like, you said you didn't have your Buuhan link level, and I was gonna be like, didn't you get the Black Friday pack with like all the
Ooh,
stores? And then I remember that's JP exclusive.
it
Then on
is.
global. Yeah, that Black
Wow.
Friday pack with like it came with it came with
Yeah, dude,
over
I was
100
so
large.
jealous of that, man.
That was crazy. I'm like, okay, you know what they're. Hey, man, if they want to do differences like that, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. No, but
Let me find out. Global players were pissed about that. As
I don't
if,
know.
like they don't get it.
Check Truth's tweet on that because he made a tweet about it too. So that'd be really funny. But no. Besides that, it's like I used him. Obviously, we're friends, and I used him by 5%. I could see like some issues where 55% Buuhan he could struggle because it's like how, especially just in the Buuhan form, even a Rainbow Buuhan could die sometimes to like the hardest hitting supers like turn one to Gogeta Blue, right?
Mhm.
So like a turn one 55% Buuhan or just like in general 55% Buuhan in other situations could struggle. Now I had my 55% Buuhan tank I would say tank the 17 and Frieza super attack for about 125k damage.
Yeah, that's tanking.
So I think that's pretty good for that phase specifically. And it's like he's not a character reliant on dodge, so that's also
Hmm.
nice to see because he could just do that in many situations. And that's like that was on turn 3 for them, so they got a few of their attack buff stacks, right? Um, so they work. This guy works pretty well in the Goku Frieza fight. I mean, my 55% Buuhan, when he's in Super Buu form specifically, was able to live the Goku and Frieza super attack like in slot one. I
Okay.
don't think it
Hmm.
was under 50% for mine, but like basically under 100k or zero damage or something like that, right? It's been a week or two at this point. Um, but I think it was the rainbow one. I'm pretty sure it was the rainbow one that was able to live the under 50% super. I think he took
Okay.
like 77k.
Yeah.
Um, which is like obviously really good.
Mm.
And the
Hmm.
thing about like that Goku Frieza fight is that you don't have to have the full power absorption rotation because he gets the domain up on turn 6, right?
Right.
So that's also going to be really good. So that means you could, feel a little more comfortable running characters even like Janemba, although I would say Janemba is just a staple in the team anyways. But like, Janemba could run the team, or maybe some other character that you wouldn't usually run on like Gogeta or the Janemba fight specifically. Either way, I like this guy a lot. I think he's
Hmm.
super fun. I think is an important thing. Animations are good, and I just think Super Boo is insane. Personally, if I
Mm.
had to rank this guy, I think I also put him as best TUR, just because I feel like people may overblow the power absorption restriction a little more than they realistically should. I think the power absorption restriction is not really a big deal right now. And of course, I always rate characters as it is right now, not how it's going to be in like 2 months.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say I do like this guy more than Teq Dokkan Fest, Super Easy Beers, just because I think
Okay.
he's, for the most part, like if you consider getting Super Brew turn 1, he's tanking better than Beerus, he's supporting better than Beerus, he's doing more damage than Beerus. Even in normal Buuhan form, his support is just going to be more useful now. Beerus, obviously, in his base form, is able to slot one in any situation compared to if you just have Buuhan, and you can't use his domain. I still think that overall, what this guy's providing is just going to be more in general, right? To compared to a lot of characters, even like with Lord Slug is providing a lot of support and healing with his domain. Oh, in fact, Super Boo heals 30% HP at the end of turn as well. Like
Yeah.
that's also something that people don't really bring up. Um, the only issue could be the orbs on turn 1, really. But since he changes specifically, I think it's AGL to tech,
Yeah.
you could set up orbs.
Well, plus the good thing
Like
is as well is he creates tech orbs, but then he doesn't need tech orbs specifically. It's just any
yeah,
orbs, isn't it? Which is good
it's any orbs.
because
So
you
even
can.
if you have like a 2 AGLs and a tech orb on the side, but then you have 10 physical orbs right
Yeah,
there, it's like
exactly.
you could just save the 10 physical orbs, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you could use any, even Rainbow Key Spheres. So
Yeah.
that's why I use Mr. Boo. I've used Mr. Boo in the Janemba fight and the
Ah.
Gogeta fight. You said as if, dude.
The only
You're
good
like
world
he's
tournament
gonna.
EZA. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's
I mean
go, man.
he's aged really well. In fact,
Mm.
Hmm.
it's funny. We could have probably bring it up here because we didn't actually have it in our schedule in terms of what we're going to talk about today. But there is a world tournament upcoming next
Yeah,
weekend.
next weekend. The
Um,
weekend there's no podcast, but there will be a world tournament.
there will be a
Woohoo!
world tournament. Yippee! In fact, let me just bring up what are the characters that are going
Uh,
to await.
While you're bringing that up, can I kind of circle back to something that you were talking about earlier with the
Yeah.
domain? I
Mhm.
like, and aside from the Goku Frieza point, I kind of like how they're starting to do these characters where we have active skills where we're being encouraged to not like hold on to them, right? Where you think about a character like Broly, like you can transform if you want the tech one right away if you want.
Mm.
And it's not really going to be like too much of a deteriorate, or it's not going to deteriorate you too much. And it's the same thing with like Int Broly, right? Where you want to use that domain as quick as possible. And like they make that a point of emphasis in the reveals and stuff, right? Where like you want to use this active skill as soon as you can get it. And it's like the same thing
Yeah.
with Broly's active skill. Like so, and even like after you transform, right? You get that the one for the extra key and stuff like that. Like you just want to use that the second you get it, and because like there's a lot of characters, right? When you think about like Tech Ultimate Gohan, I think is a good example where his transform state is good, but you want to try and hold it if you can.
Yeah.
because then you lose that build up. And I mean, there's a billion characters that we could talk about where, it's like, do you really want to use that active skill right now? Right? You want to save the Beast Gohan taunt for when you're going to need it. The same thing with like Gogeta Blues. And I sort of like this trend that they're going with, right? Where it's like, we get these active skills, like we want to see them, we want to use them. And I think that's kind of a good thing going forward. But who knows? I say this, and then the 10th anniversary are going to be like crazy stack units you never want to swipe up with. So
Yeah.
you never know.
No, that's fair. I think we'll just have to see how things go in terms of like his aging with 10th anniversary characters too. But yeah, no, I see your point for sure. Okay, so I looked into the World Tournament EZAs, and then if they do 2, because I think they did last time they did only 2, right? But they also had Demon King Piccolo EZA, a new LR, and then that. So they could do 3. It's going to be the Int 18. It's going to be the AGL Kid Pan. And then if they do a third one, it'll be the STR Goku Black.
Okay.
I like his art.
Yeah.
His art's pretty good. We'll see what they do with these characters if they all awaken. The STR Goku Black, I mean, Goku Blacks have not been treated well this Dokkan recently. That's all I'm gonna personally say. We could disagree, but
yeah, Minato gotta sneak the rose hate in there somewhere.
Look, it's not even hate. You could agree that he could have been better. You could agree.
Yeah, probably.
A little better.
He's still good though.
Yeah. He got the treatment that AGL Frieza deserved in terms of team help though.
Oh no, AGL Frieza is good on Slug's team right now. AGL Frieza, like I took him in Goku Frieza, he did pretty good in Goku Frieza.
If I had Slug on my global, I could check that out because on 0 to Hero, that was like the first Dokkan Fest I pulled that Frieza just to get the account started.
Nice. Yeah, because Frieza, and then especially because Frieza has the active skill with the nullification on it, you could just snipe Goku Frieza Super and then just like nuke the final phase very easily. Now, obviously, if he would take a super, like
what's the Goku and Frieza fight? I play global.
Anyways, continuing on. We do have other stuff coming likely this week. I think it's going to happen. Well, I say this week, but next week. I think it's going to happen before the World Tournament personally, but we should be getting a part 2 Carnival LR. We call it the part 2 LR, but it's always technically a separate celebration. We just end up calling it the part 2 LR. Anyways, there's I think some options for what this character could be. Now, there's the thoughts on it being Buu Saga, which is very likely. There's also discussion on it being a tournament of power LR. Ningen, I'll let you go ahead and kind of explain what's going on with that kind of thought process and with Majin Buu Saga and TOP.
Well, I don't actually know. I think the only thing I know about why people think it might be TOP is because of the Battlefield LR, right? Is there anything other than that, or?
No, it's pretty much that.
Okay, because it was Hachiak was added as the new Battlefield LR around this time last year, and then no, not this time, but was added as a new LR, and then we got the Carnival LR, and it was the STR Super Saiyan Goku from the Hachiak movie. So obviously they were directly linked. So people think that because we've got a new Battlefield LR, which we will be talking about soon. Very exciting stuff for him. But yeah, we've got a new Battlefield LR, so people think it could be related to that. Plus, obviously, anytime any opportunity comes up for her to even have a slightest chance to be maybe the LR, people will obviously bring up the thing from a little while ago with the incorrect banner art for that EZA banner, for which seemed to show off an unreleased Kefla art that was then replaced straight away with the old one, because it was a different base Kefla to the existing STR one, and that art has still not been seen in the game. So
wasn't that just like the shading was different, like it was the same like face and everything?
No, Proton reshared the link for me, but he made a GIF of like it literally just flashing between the two pictures, and yeah, you can very clearly see that it's like a different art. The face shape and like the eye shape is even slightly different and everything. So
I got you. I just remembered it differently, but I mean, I'm not gonna, say you're wrong, but okay.
Yeah, he posted because he posted the two images side by side and then made it into a GIF, and it's like for all the people that still can't see the difference, like here it is. And when you have the image that's layered over each other and they keep flipping, you can see like, but yeah, I mean, it's not majorly different because obviously it's still just base Kefla, but you can see that it is a different art. So obviously anytime there's even a slim possibility that it could be a TOP or a Super Saiyan or anything like even Peppy Gal, like people will say, oh, there's that Kefla art. So obviously that has come up. But yeah, obviously it could be that, it could be Buu Saga, or what would be really funny is if it's just completely unrelated to any of those things. Because I mean, last year we got 21 as the Dokkan Fest, and then we got the Super Saiyan trio. And there's that loose connection that obviously, she's an android, was an android's leader, and they're from the Android 13 movie. But in terms of the two units themselves, they're not really connected at all.
Well, I mean, Angel 13 did EZA, but yeah.
Yeah, so there was some ties with the celebration, but like the choice of unit wasn't really tied to the Dokkan Fest, right? So...
When I did a speculation video on the Part 2 LR, I thought it was kind of funny that they could do like an inverse of history, right? You're going to know where I'm going with this right away. But, last year when we had Dokkan Fest KO, we went to Super Buu. So now we go from Buuhan, we can flip it and go to a Universe 6 Part 2 LR with Kefla. So but technically it's not a Part 2 LR, but like, it's just, the timing is good.
The only thing I'm disappointed in the celebration, like in general, is that they usually have been really good with buffing the team of the main character that would come out.
Yeah.
But they're not really doing it this time. They're just kind of focusing on Majin Buu Saga. And it's like power absorption could have really used the extra assistance there. We'll see. I mean,
we have Cell for like a month.
Well, another thing is we do have the Int Buuhan. His Extreme Z battle is still going to be up for the rest of the month. So they're obviously going to do something with that, whether it's Buu Piccolo, EZA from those medals, I think it's possible.
That'd be good.
Or, even Super EZA into Buuhan, I probably would say is not really likely at this point.
Yeah.
I would just expect the sub EZAs, but we'll see. Now, in terms of the actual LR, let's say, I think if it's Tournament of Power, a lot of people would agree Kefla, or even just some super class character. Maybe it could be like Super Saiyan 2 Goku that transforms into God Goku or something, but who knows, right? We can't really say. Tournament of Power doesn't really have a lot of options from there. Like, again, the one thing is that this Part 2 LR has always been super class, so it's really good to kind of guess that it's going to be some super class character is the most likely option. They can always change it, but that's why when we talk about Majin Buu Saga, a lot of people are bringing up the idea of not an LR Kid Buu, but instead either a Gotenks or a Super Vegeta. Now, there could be some other options I'm not thinking about, but what are y'all thinking?
I think that with Super Vegito, I would just imagine that they would rather wait a month and do an anniversary level of dedication and resources to an LR Super Vegito. Like this character, like I think or with like the animations would be way better if they waited. I don't know though, like
not necessarily. It's tough. I mean, the Part 2 a lot of like last year they had pretty good animations.
Yeah.
What I would say is I saw a lot of JP players, like a lot of their tweets actually came on my timeline, and I did a little looking into it, right? And JP players do not want Super Vegito. So many of them are saying just wait for anniversary, wait for an extra month. I don't want Super Vegito to release now. Give me Gotenks or something else, right? And I think a lot of I don't know, because it's still Carnival art, but it could be the ultimate bait pre-anniversary. What are you thinking, Negan?
Yeah, I mean, they could. At the end of the day, I think we've always said, we kind of learned a long time ago, never say never with Dokkan. But I do think that they're not wasting Super Vegito on this like random December Carnival LR time slot. Like, I just don't. Yeah. I don't think they would. Not saying it's impossible, but yeah, with the anniversary so close and like, fusion's always being a big thing for the anniversary. yeah, I just don't see it being Vegito. The one thing I will say as well is people were saying about it being super class, but hasn't it the last couple of years been super class, but following on from a super class Dokkan Fest? So because we got an extreme Dokkan Fest instead, maybe that means that the LR will be extreme. Who knows? But
I mean, it depends because we had into Goku Black into Trunks of Mine. We had Esther Bojack into what's his face? Esther Bojack into Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. But then there was also Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 3 Bardock into Super Saiyan 3 Goku. There was 21 last year into Super Saiyan Trio. Yamcha into Super Saiyan Goku. A lot of different options that I think there was another extreme class option that I'm not thinking about off the top of my head, but I don't think the part one Dokkan Fest like being extreme class or super class really matters.
yeah,
It's mostly just been that it's always been super class. Ideally, oh yeah, Tech Androids into Gohan and Trunks. Someone in chat says so. Like ideally, they would go for extreme class like an LR Kid Buu. I just feel like this would be the perfect spot for an LR Kid Buu. We could get LR Kid Buu, and then we can get the Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. The Angel Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta LR. He could EZA. Then we get an LR Kid Buu. I just think that would I feel like that just fits really well. And I feel like that's like a Dokkan kind of move that they would do. But that's assuming that they wouldn't just drop another super class character in the spot, which based on patterns is what they usually would end up doing.
yeah,
Like last year we thought that it would be like some crossover character and then oops ends up just being Super Saiyan Trio. So like they could we'll see what happens. Even people were talking about like an LR mirror or something, and it's like oh they just
hell
went with
yeah.
the basic Super Saiyan toys, right? So who knows? We have to see what they're gonna do exactly. Ideally, I mean, in a perfect world, they release like a Lara Buu that's like buff Buu, and then as an intro, and then he transforms into Kid Buu, and then he somehow ends up being on power absorption because Kid Buu is not on power absorption.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'm thinking they might not care. But then it could also be just a Dokkan move where they release Kid Buu and it's like they know he's not on power absorption, but they just are like, yeah, he's perfect for Buuhan.
Yeah, it's
Right?
big
So,
bosses.
yeah, we'll see.
I mean, like you said, the power absorption restriction isn't the end of the world, right? So if they do make the LR Kid Buu and he is really, really good, then I suppose it doesn't matter too much.
I mean, if he's like a slot one gamer god, then it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine, what that team could really use is a target skill. I think a target skill, if you need one, it's been a while. I think that'd be really cool.
He should have the target. He should have the taunt ability where he just like the thing where he falls asleep.
Exactly.
And then just like tanks everything
That'd
for
be awesome.
0
And then it's like he heals at the end of turn
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Someone did point out in chat as well, Trace. Someone on Twitter, I think it was D Simons, replied to one of my things. But there's last time when we had, I think it was during the Namek thing when they added EX missions for the red zone. They added missions for one of was it Planet Namek Saga or something, and then the LR was. Although I don't think it was from the Vegeta. I'm trying to remember when the dates were. But there's something to do with the EX missions being related to like the Part 2 LR. And obviously the ones they added this
Potara
time
mission,
have
right?
Majin Buu Saga ones. But they also have Fusion and Potara. So it could still be any of those like main options, really.
I would say the reason why they released those missions like that is because of the Blue Fusions, because they got their anniversary buffs.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I don't think we actually really talked about that because there's not really much to say. I don't think the buffs were really mega substantial.
I was kind of disappointed with them, to be honest. Yeah. Like when we saw, I don't know if it's because the 3-year and 4-year units are so much older. So it's been so long since they've been relevant. So using them again and seeing them hit like 28 million attack stats and stuff was really cool. But then using like Vegeta and Gogeta and like their start of turn defense is like 600k and they're doing like 10 to 12 million attack. It's like, oh, That's not really that
It's
impressive. But I think that the trade-off is obviously they have a lot of other tech and stuff, which the 3 and 4 years don't have. Like
Right.
the
Blue Fusions have that guarantee.
yeah, it's like the dodge in slot 3, then they come back and transform and have 100% dodge, and they have the active skill. Like it's like they kind of make up for not having as high numbers. But
I've
yeah,
seen screenshots of the Blue Fusions with a mill defense start of turn. So
Mhm.
yeah, the second
Like,
turn
it's-
after they got some build up, they look really good. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It's just the quest. It's just the quest to get there because you're like it's at the minimum turn 4 to get to that point.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I guess that's where I come on with my Goku Frieza.
Okay, yeah.
I got
But,
Teq Buuhan there. We use the domain. They get
Yes,
dodge and-
sir.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, that was
Let
the
me
funny
see-
thing
yeah.
as well. Somebody said in chat the fact that for all 4 of the units that got a buff, they gave them the extra stats and they gave them all super effective against all types, which Gogeta has anyway.
Yeah. I think that's why they gave Vegeta less attack. They gave the rest of them transformed 200% attack, but Vegeta only has 100%.
Yeah, because he just does so
Vegito
many
has 100?
attacks. Yeah, Vegeta has
Yeah.
less attack
okay.
than Gogeta, like from the
Gotcha.
buff. But it's because he does so many attacks. So
Because he does way more.
yeah,
supers, right?
he still
Right.
looks really,
Some
really
level.
good. Because unfortunately,
For
Gogeta,
sure.
even with the buff, unfortunately, still has the thing. Like when I used him with the buff, you still have the turns where he does like a super and then 3 normals.
Normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Vegeta just like super, right?
Yep.
They're really crazy.
Yeah.
For
Minato,
sure.
you mentioned something, or I wanted to get back to this, but the with Tournament of Power specifically, if they were to do that for part 2 or the Winter LR, whatever you want to call it, right? I think that would give them like a nice excuse, quote unquote, to like fit a featured LR being Jiren, because that's probably going to be his rerun on JP.
That's
So that would
that's a
help with the
fair
featured
point.
lineup, right?
I just don't think that they really.
It doesn't
care
really
about that.
matter
They'll
because
just
Omega
put
last
Jiren.
year.
I mean, because Jiren's just going to be on the banner anyways in JP. And,
Right.
You know, we could talk about global. I don't know what they're gonna do because there's the like 0.5% chance that they're like, yeah, we're gonna throw you guys a bone. There's gonna be Jiren's initial banner on global at the same time. I'm gonna say don't expect them to do
Yeah.
that. I would expect the banner next week to be different.
Yeah.
And then right before the New Year's, the Dokkan Fest, like
They'll
the
toss
week
Jiren.
before,
Yeah.
they'll toss Jiren out, and then the Christmas banner maybe even. I don't know. I would assume they're gonna drop Jiren as his own banner still on global. We'll see, but I don't think that it'll affect like it being the part 2 LR. But I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
It would work.
It
Jiren
would
is
work with the
USS
theme.
leader.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
It-
Like, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
because my thought process is like if it was Tournament of Power, it could either be. I was thinking at first it could be like a new Angel Golden Frieza, because the last premium Angel Golden Frieza we got, like just that's his name, was the Int one, and that's the only one.
Damn.
So
Oh, okay. I was thinking of
With
the physical
that,
one
oh no, because yeah, the physical one's transforming, right? But
4 years ago. Yeah.
I'm thinking of literally that moment where he's like beaming all the I think it's Universe 2, all the Universe 2
Yeah.
like
The assassins are in the
yeah,
fight
that's
or in the tournament.
Assassins. No, before the tournament.
Isn't that
Yeah.
Universe 9? Because he's in cahoots
Is
with
it
Siege.
Universe 9? Oh yeah, it is
Yeah.
Universe 9, you're right. I don't know. I
And then
forgot.
he like handles the god of destruction energy easy, then
You're
gives it to Goku, and
right.
Goku's like,
Yeah, and I was
Beerus has
thinking
to
like
come and
Yeah.
get rid
have
of it.
an active skill. Remember the transforming Teq Frieza, his super attack? That as an active skill with new animations, that would just look so good.
The
That active skill
transformation of him on the lookout, bro. That would
Yeah,
be that's
that-
like really well animated for the episode that it's in, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's
kind of like a random one.
that episode is really well animated. I wouldn't even say it's random. It's Frieza's return episode. So they
Fair,
wanted to
fair.
make him look good, right?
And he looked
They
good
definitely
for
did.
sure.
So like I think that'd be cool, but that's like talking about extreme class character. They could also just redo the Team Universe 7 LR, but just has
Yeah,
17
on.
by himself, just like Android 17, and then his active skills just are 18 key but voiced. Like, would you guys be mega surprised? I feel like I would be like, oh, LR Anilaza, if they want to release a LR 17, I guess, but I don't know. But Ningan, you're gonna say something, right? My apologies. I was like yapping away right there.
Where I don't even remember what it was now.
Part 2 LR, Jiren, Tournament of Power, Frieza.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think I was just gonna say, like, I was just agreeing with you guys. Like, I don't think it'd be the best thing for the players for them to just put Jiren on the Carnival banner for Global and just be like, yeah, here's 2 new Carnival LRs. But
That's not how
yeah,
Amatsu
they're not.
gets down.
Yeah,
Come on
no,
now.
exactly. They'll put in an extra banner because they want to make extra money. But it's dumb because, like, I mean, I know some people, I've even seen people in my comments and stuff, like, some people are excited for Jiren and have been waiting for him to come out so they can summon for him. But him coming out as a separate banner makes it, like, the easiest skip, like, ever. So it's like an odd, you have to wonder what their thought process is, because if they put it out as an extra banner because they think, like, more banners equals more money, but if they put it out as an extra banner, there's loads of people just won't summon on it. So, whereas I imagine there's probably some people who would be tempted more to summon on the new LR banner if it also had Jiren on it as well as the new character. But I guess there's different audiences for both options, I guess.
I have a counter to that, Ningen. I raise you Teq UI Goku during the anniversary.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's the thing.
And Beast Gohan's banner was infinitely better
as well.
Had
like
perks.
Yeah.
Had a freebie, right? Tickets. And people are like, I need Teq UI. So, you know, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like if people want a character, they're gonna summon.
Well, yeah, exactly. We went through that Cannonball run for Global where it was just like a banner every week for like 4 weeks from like the end of the anniversary. It was brutal.
We thought Jiren was gonna be a part of that.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is actually really funny, and in a sad way, I guess, because it just shows you, we joke about it sometimes, but there are those few little things where you really do have to wonder, like, if they know what they're doing, right? Where we got the special login screen or title screen for Global of Jiren versus UI Goku, and then that title screen is now gone, but Jiren didn't come out in the entire time that was the title screen. So the title screen has now changed to not being Jiren versus Goku, but Jiren didn't come out in that entire time that was the title screen. Like, huh?
Teq UI didn't even return either. So.
Well, yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, we got all the other stuff. We got all that other content from Jiren's celebration, right? The other EZAs and the God event new stages and stuff. But that was it. We didn't get the 2 extra stages from the thing, which is what everyone's waiting for, right? Like Goku and Frieza. Nobody really talks about stage 5, which is the UI Goku one. Like, I assume just because I've briefly looked at the stats and everything on Dokkan Info, and it doesn't look like it's anything special. But stage 6 obviously is Goku and Frieza, which is the one that everybody wants. Right. And yeah, I mean, for most people, like me included, I don't really care about LR Jiren, but I want him to come out because then the Goku and Frieza fight will come out. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, we know it's coming out before the end of the year, but we are now, 24 days? It's got to come out sometime between now and then.
Days.
I mean, again, Jiren's gonna drop this month. Like,
we know he is.
Unless
it's just,
when. But, you know.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
he wouldn't lie.
He wouldn't lie. Like when he said Int Broly's EZA details would be on their social media on the global video, and then
I was gonna mention something with that. Between what's gonna happen first, LR Kid Buu or global EZA details?
I just like translating, man. Oh my god! Please.
You don't like translating?
They don't want to put Minato out of a job, so they're just not going to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm almost at 30K followers because of it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So there you go. See?
Oh no, no. Unironically, like half my followers are because I started translating. They're like 10K.
Is that for other types of tweets?
No, people don't like hearing me talk about Honkai Star or anything. It's fine. Dude. It's okay. You know,
you're a trailblazer. You got it. It comes with the territory.
That's true. You know, trailblazing isn't about the fame; it's about the expedition.
If you follow me for Dokkan because I do Dokkan YouTube and all I tweet about is Bleach, like it's not good.
Oh, dude, let's talk about Bleach. We're gonna start getting into a whole other conversation. But
well, we can circle it back around from the Tournament of Power, so we can finally talk about the GOAT himself, right? The
LR Midlaza.
Oh.
I don't even have anything to say. It's terrible. Okay, no, I do have something to say. I love his card art and his animations are cool, but he sucks.
Yeah,
he looks like a goblin. He looks good.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so
it's a terribly designed character. Like it's not even terribly designed. It's just like, why would you make a free-to-play character that you can only make 55% required in someone?
Yep.
And then it's like in like a year you could rainbow him. and then it's like, oh, bosses are hitting 9 mil turn 1
He's
in like a year.
types Minato in the second slot. That's
Anyways,
huge.
they want him to be in slot 1, and
I know. Yeah, damn interruption.
oh look, at least he has big bad bosses. It's
Mhm.
funny because he's the
Whoa.
only tournament of power
Oh my god.
enemy to have big bad bosses.
Oh god,
And
really?
it's
Yeah,
because
that's...
he is an extreme class character. I called it. I was like, I knew he's gonna be. I felt like he was gonna be extreme class, and then they're gonna give him big bad bosses.
that's
They
so
did.
weird.
But it's so
I'm-
weird because like it's not like super class characters haven't had big bad bosses before. It's just uncommon. Like 21 has big bad bosses. So I don't know why. Like it's weird. They don't give Jiren big bad bosses or Kefla, and that would be super helpful for super bosses. But no, they're like, nah, we're good.
But yeah, it comes back to, I know we've discussed it before, like we probably talked about it when the last one came out, but it just makes you wonder what their logic is behind like Battlefield LRs in general. Because it's kind of similar to World Tournament LRs, where it's like they're time gated essentially to when you can actually have them at their full potential. And so ideally they need to be, because of how long it takes, because how often is it we get a new Battlefield reset, is it every month or is it every like 2 months, something like that? But they don't always add a
Battlefield
new
reset
copy
happens
in.
each month,
but
but
then-
like in terms of
The
adding
shop.
new characters
Yeah,
in
it's
the
like, is it
shop,
every 2 months?
It's like every
or
3 months.
3?
Feels like
Oh god.
it's every like 3 months.
Yeah, it's like 2 to 3. So,
feels like
so it means you're not going to be able to have him rainbowed for like 9 months to a year. So
A year, give or take,
realistically, when they come out, like they should be really, really good at 55% because that's all you can have. And by the time you get one more dupe, which doesn't exactly increase their power by that much, it's going to have been like 2 or 3 months since they first came out.
I mean, by the time we get a dupe for him, the anniversary's already out.
Yeah, exactly. So the Battlefield LRs, I'm not sure what their thought process is behind it, but like they should be making them way more powerful. And especially because they're continuing this trend of like each one of the Battlefield LRs is more expensive to buy than the one before. And obviously we've had big discussions in the past where like the Battlefield currency is just becoming a huge issue for like I have done every Battlefield since the start. And I'm at the point where, like, you know, I bought a copy of him for the sake of content for doing like the 55% showcase. But like, I can't rainbow all the Battlefield LRs. Like, there's multiple copies of Cell and Freezer that I haven't bought because they're not very good either. But like, yeah, like I've done every single Battlefield since it came out. And it's like, I'm running out of the memories to afford to buy these characters.
Stella and Frieza are a year old.
Yeah, crazy.
I have something I just noticed when I was looking at the kit of this character. This is something that they should like, because they obviously don't pay attention to this when they design characters, right? But I'm looking at on Dokkan Info, the similar links page, their best linking partner, like no matter what, is going to have 3 links. So they don't have one character they share more than 4.
That's, I hate
Literally-
designs like that so bad. It's,
Yeah, so what do they have? They have oh yeah, here we go. Mechanical Menaces. Let's see. Let's see who has
Fighter,
that link.
big bad bosses, stuff as now like
Oh my, this link, bro. There's
Fused Fighter is such a weird link.
there's
If
15.
Look, if we get an LR Kefla with big bad
Yeah.
bosses, they would share big bad bosses, Fused Fighter, legendary power, turnover power. Just do it, you know.
There's so there's 15 characters that have mechanical menaces, and 5 of them are Orale.
amazing.
And,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's like Android 16, Rildo, Wheelo, and like Android 16, and Giru. Shout out to Giru.
let's go.
He's a menace. What?
Go Guru.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they do. Like we've only seen them change it. I mean, the problem is because they changed it like once, it gave everybody hope that they might do it again, right? When they gave the LR Gogeta from the anniversary saying Raw, but like they have this thing
Right.
where they're just stuck to like certain characters need to have certain links. But that's not necessarily good for that character. So then when that character comes out and then the team that they want to be run on, like they don't have any good link partners, it's like, well, don't give them that link set then. Like if he's supposed to be run on like a super boss's team, then he should be having links that like the other characters on that team have. Rather than saying, well, he's this type of character, so he needs to have this link. And it's like, but his team won't have any other characters that have that link on it. It's just a very, very odd design. I mean, other Battlefield LRs in the past, like they've never been super crazy, but like some of them have been at least okay, right, when they first came out. But this guy just seems terrible.
They need their EZA. Like that's because who was a decent one? Was it the physical Ginyu? Like his EZA was good, right?
Physical Ginyu.
Yeah, the EZAs have
Yeah,
been
EZA
okay.
Physical Ginyu. Teq Buuhan was pretty decent.
Metal Cooler.
I feel like medical like the ECAs
Yeah.
aren't bad.
Mhm.
I think that we just need. It's this is weird because it's like they're not gonna be good until their EZAs come out, so or at least usable. So.
Yeah, so
I
it's
don't
like
know.
why make these units and then it's like they're not actually going to be good or usable for
And
like
especially in global,
3
you
years.
have very difficult like times grabbing them. So
Well, didn't they have catch-up missions for the currency? If that's what you're referring to.
There are some things, yeah. I don't think it's even missions. It's just the last couple of battlefields. Like, there's just been
They just give
bonus
more.
points. Yeah, like you complete the first like 2 fights, and then when you've completed like level 1, there was just a thing that was like bonus like currency, and it's just like you got an extra like 8,000 or like 12,000 or whatever. But yeah, even with all of that, it's still not enough
Right.
for like everything in the
mean,
shop, which is kind of
You said
Why
it
would
yourself,
they?
right? Like
Like-
you've done all of them, and it doesn't matter. Sorry,
Yeah.
Enzo.
I mean, even that, like, imagine someone who started last year, like, they're never ever gonna be able to get all the characters, like, ever. They're never gonna be able to complete the shop.
But yeah, it's like imagine being someone
Uh,
that started playing it like a year or so ago, and you've literally only just had enough points. Like you've just seen like, oh, this LR Anaraza just came out. He's the newest Battlefield LR. I guess I'll buy him for like all my Battlefield memories. And then it's like, well, he sucks, and now you won't be able to get anything else for like a year's worth of Battlefield points again. Like, yeah, absolutely
that's-
crazy.
They need to make Battlefield just like a thing you could farm. I don't know, like a permanently farming thing. And then it's like, okay, if you make it so that you can permanently farm it, but then you just make the missions and the stones reset. Like you could farm it for just the currency, but not the stones. Like who cares? I wouldn't even care if I don't get stones for refarming it. I just
Yeah.
want to
Yeah,
farm the
100%.
currency.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind the stones being on one spot. It just it's just silly. Like I don't see why they don't like what is the purpose of being so I wouldn't even say stingy with the Battlefield currency. What is the thought process, man? There's something I want to know, but we could just there's something we could just talk
because-
about
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, there's other resources that aren't just the characters in there, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah,
And I'm not like saying it as it's like it's a good like it's like really valuable because I have my phone pulled up here. I was looking at it while we're
I mean, it's
talking, right?
like what 10, 20 elder guys. It's not gonna.
Yeah, so there's
oh,
guys
the
in
guns.
here. There's an unlimited amount of hourglasses. There's Elder Kai Awakening medals.
Yeah, you can get all of those with gems, and you could
hidden
permanently farm them.
hidden potential orbs.
Yeah, like you could permanently
yeah.
farm all of those with gems.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just letting you know what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's like oh, here we go. 25 Chilai items. I actually need those. No,
But yeah, the
I thought I
crossover,
did.
the
You
difference
can buy
should
them with
be.
Zenny. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't know. Let's,
Yeah, but like the balance
Let's
should
rewatch
be
it.
if they're difficult, if they're not infinitely farmable, they're difficult
Mm-hmm.
to get, and then the LRs cost loads of points, then they
And they
should
suck.
be really good. Like, but they're not. So then, yeah, just make it easier to get. But yeah, it should be some sort of better middle ground. Unfortunately,
The bottom line is not affected by me having 2 copies of Anilaza right now.
well, that's exactly it, right? Like, if you were able to rainbow him right now, what difference would that actually make to the balance of the game? Like,
Is it going to decentivize me from summoning from Jiren? Like, no, Jiren's his best linking partner on paper. I'm looking at it right now.
I mean, it's
Right?
not like you're
It's
running
like
super
links,
boss.
but
It's not like
yeah.
you're running super bosses, anyways.
right. So
yeah,
it's just like
terrible.
someone out there gets it, but just not the 3 of us. It's just, yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, let's move on from Analaza. You
Yep.
know, I think his animations are good and everything, but
Mhm.
like as a typical Battlefield character, not worth the currency costs, and we can't buy him anyway. So, anyways, let's talk about Extreme Z Awakenings. Woo! The best thing in Dokkan, probably. You know,
Always has been.
we're gonna talk about Super Z and Ultimate Gohan first, just because
Okay.
he's actually out.
Yeah,
today.
okay.
Then we'll have a discussion about the characters we still need to wait like what 5 days for.
Yeah, that was
isn't it?
weird. But we'll talk about that.
3-4 days, yeah. So in Ultimate Gohan, now I used him a bit. I have some thoughts on him, but I would like to hear from you guys first. So Vilify, have you used the Super Z into Gohan?
I don't have him on my JP. I don't know why.
Okay, well, Negan, have you
Yeah.
used? I'm sure you've used him. I've
Yeah,
seen the
yeah,
gameplay.
I've used him. I think he's really, really good.
Mhm.
I think he's one of these characters that are people I think underrate him and his performance because I don't know the right way to word it because I don't want it to sound like condescending when I say it this way, but I feel like people underrate his performance because they don't understand what kind of unit he's supposed to be, right?
Mhm.
Because like I look at him as this unit that he's a support unit, so you can throw him on a bunch of teams. He doesn't have loads of crazy restrictions. He's obviously not a slot one unit. And even though he is infinitely stacking attack, like he's not a unit that does crazy damage on turn one or anything like that. Which is why I think people maybe underrate him. But like if you put him on a team, especially if you're fighting an extreme class enemy, he's giving everyone 58% attack and defense, which is a lot. He gets multiple supers. He can get up to being around the like 1 million defense range with guard and a 70% chance to dodge. So if you think of him as a support unit and then you stack that up against like every other support unit, like he's really, really good. Like he's the kind of support unit you can put on a team, put him in slot 3, and you don't really have to worry about him dying. Like obviously if he does get tagged by a super from some of the bigger bosses, like he'll take a lot of damage. But yeah, considering that he's very easy to throw onto teams and provide that support and everything, yeah, I think he's really, really good. And I think the only reason why I feel like when people say that he isn't great is because it's like, well, people are like, well, I want to use him on main rotation in slot 2. Why is he not doing like 15 million attack on turn 1? Like, and it's because that's not the kind of unit that he is, right? So I think for what he actually does and what you can use him for, I think he's really, really good.
I think. Sorry.
I just think it's a bit awkward for him, his teams, like in terms of his 200% teams, because he's on like, obviously, I think he's on, is he on Kamehameha? I can't remember now. I don't think he is he? But he's not on any of the actual like Buu Saga 200% leads, like the characters that have a Buu Saga leader skill, like AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku. He's not on the full 200%. And then he's on teams like Teq UI, where his team is so stacked that you're probably not running him on that team anyway. So I think his best team at the moment is maybe like the Beast team, but kind of circling back a little bit to what we talked about earlier, I think it's one of the reasons why the Carnival LR potentially being a Buu Saga 200% would be really, really good, because this guy and the EZAs that we're going to talk about in a minute as well, like then they would all have one proper team where they all get the full like leader skill, and then this guy would benefit massively from being on that team. But yeah, I think he's really, really good. I do think it's a bit crazy. Like, I know some people, there's an insane bias about Gohan in the community where, like, there are the group, you've got the group on one side that love every Gohan and he's always the best unit ever. And then there's the people who hate every Gohan and he's always overrated. And then obviously there will be some people in the middle. But when it comes down to this guy, like I said, he can build up to doing big numbers eventually with the attack. He's giving support, he's got guard, and he's got a really high dodge chance. Like, I can't really see any way you can look at that and say that he's bad. Obviously, if you don't think he's like super great, like I don't think he's the best super EZA or anything like that, but I definitely don't think you can really look at what he's doing and say that he's bad, right? I think he's very solid. You can throw him onto a bunch of teams. So yeah, I think he is definitely very good.
I think. Sorry, Beto.
No, you can go first.
I think. Yeah, I don't have much to say because I haven't used them. But one thing that you can say is, like, you think about Ning, and you talked about like the support units, right? What would you rather have, right? Like a support unit like Chi-Lai, who's doing her job. Granted, I think she's good with like the rainbow warp changing and the dodging, but she gets tagged with a normal, you lose, right?
Yep.
And this is compared to someone like Ultimate Gohan, where, like you said, you have the dodge chance, you have the guard, you're actually able to put up respectable numbers. Yeah, like when you look at anything, if you just look at this unit in the vacuum of the role that they're supposed to play, I think they excel in what they're trying to do. And not like super EZAs in like, you know, aside from maybe like Beerus, right? Like they're just not meant to be like these slot one tanks that you just toss in and they're the best character on the team, right? And even Beerus, he's not the best unit on movie bosses. he's not the best unit on Realm of Gods, right? But he fulfills his role well, and I think that's the
Mhm.
same thing with this Ultimate Gohan, where
Yep.
you're going to be able to float this guy and feel comfortable. And ease of mind with a floater is not something that every team has,
Plus, I do really like it.
especially with one that gives a support.
I think it's underrated ability as well because there's not a lot of events where it really matters. I think it's like Bulma, and then I think it's like,
Mhm.
is it Super Saiyan 2 Youth Gohan or something does it? But there's like a couple of events where the enemy ability is you get minus key. So the fact
Mhm.
that this guy only needs to get to 7 key and then he gets the extra 5 like as part of his passive, so you basically
Right.
won't ever miss like supers with him either, is quite a nice little extra. I know it's something that he's always had in his kit because in the early days with early leader skills and stuff that was really beneficial for him as well. But yeah, that's like, I think, a slightly underrated. It's not super useful, it's not like a game changer ability, but I think that's a nice little extra thing that he has as well. So
I mean, especially on a team like Majin Buu Saga, where it's like, oh, we're gonna flash, we're ready for battle.
yeah, because
Go
Gohan,
on.
Ultimate Gohans, especially
This guy
older
only has
ones,
same lineage.
yeah, have had
And Shock is
notoriously
good
bad
actually, but
links. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I would say the thing about this guy is I do like his kind of idea of the key. I think I really like that. The support is nice. I would say I'm a little underwhelmed with him though. I don't think he's bad. I just
Mhm.
don't think he's really good.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason why is because I just feel like he's not a character that works well in how the game's hardest content is currently designed.
Hmm.
So let's bring up Gogeta and Janemba. Very short fights, right?
Mhm.
These fights usually last like 4 or 5 turns or so. The thing about Gohan is he does still need to build up, right? He still has to get 4 super attacks, and he only has the one additional
Hmm.
if your team has all super class allies. So you need to build your team
Mhm.
around that.
Yep.
So like, if you run him a Teq team, there's some characters you may not be able to run, or even Majin Buu Saga has a lot of really good extreme class characters. You can't really sub in some of those characters if you don't have all these super class options,
Hmm.
right? Not the biggest deal ever though. If you're talking about this guy's performance, in terms of like the requirement, it's not like a big restriction. Just asking for all super class, but considering he's limited to basically, I would say those 2 teams. I guess you can't even use him on Beast team. I don't think he's on Beast Gohan's a leader skill. Um, if I'm not mistaken,
I
because
might be
Beast
thinking of the wrong
Gohan's
one. Oh wait, yeah, no, he's not, is he?
does Beast
Because
Gohan lead miraculous? No, because he's not
Yeah.
a miraculous
yeah, I
power.
forget
It's
Ultimate Gohans
Yeah.
aren't on Bond of Master and Disciple, are they? So yeah, he's not on
Yeah, I
his
was
team
confused. I
either.
was confused when you were saying. I was looking at his categories. I'm like, where's Beast Gohan's leader skill in here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just didn't say
I
anything.
forgot.
he's not on Beast Gohan's team.
Let me have a look.
So I
So
ran him mostly in Tech UI's team with
Mhm.
Tech Gohan next to him or Beast Gohan with him, and then it's like that worked fine for the most part. Like you could see the differences in his support, but if you don't get a triple super turn one, then this guy is basically sitting there with 50% dodge, and let's say him Gogeta or Janemba, getting super attack would instantly kill him. There's situations where, let's say, I got a double super turn one with this guy in a rotation where I don't think he had like same lineage up or anything like that or shark speed, but he took like a 200-ish K normal, or like it was like 100 to 200K normal
Mhm.
from Gogeta, right? And it's like a thing of when this guy's able to build up, I think he looks really nice. But in those 2 events that are some of the harder events, even as a floater, these bosses, I find Jinama Gogeta could hit you in slot 3. And if this guy doesn't get even like 3 supers for his 60% dodge turn 1,
hmm.
which requires you to get the hidden potential system super attack, he could be in trouble potentially sometimes,
Mhm.
or take some significant damage from a normal. In the Goku Frieza fights, I was able to build this guy up to where at the end, I kept him on rotation with Tech Gohan. At the end, he did triple 16 mils, right? Or so, like 15 to 16 to 17 mil. He
Mhm.
crit all of them. He did pretty decent damage, all things considered. And
Hmm.
he didn't have to worry about a super attack at the end. Um, but then you could be worried about the fact that I had this guy in one of the Goku Frieza, runs I was doing. He was locked in slot 1 from 17, and
Hmm.
he just instantly died because in slot 1 he doesn't get the guard or the dodge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then obviously there's 17 and Frieza that disable dodge. It's like in 2 of the fights he can't really build up properly all the way in early on, and then in the other fight he can get locked or he can get you can't dodge, right? So if you get
Hmm.
snagged with a super, you could die. It's like the game is kind of designed against what his kit is kind of working with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he's not bad. He's still able to handle it in a lot of situations, and the support he's providing is nice. You don't have to worry about key with this guy. I would say overall like a 7 out of 10 super easy to me, something like
Hmm.
that. I could see where his faults are, and I think that in terms of like if we're going into like a 10th anniversary meta, and then it's like the fights are really short, I don't think this guy will be able to keep up potentially.
Hmm.
But if it's a fight, it's like a longer meta type of fight, I think this guy could still be decent as a floater option. Um, but yeah, I think they could have given him a little more in terms of his, I think, just a general defense stat potentially. But that's really it. I'm not gonna ask too much from like a floating support character.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Overall, he does his role fine, but again, like I said, there could be the issues just with how the events are designed right now.
No, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. So that's why I'm a little underwhelmed with them, but
But yeah, I
I'm not
forgot.
gonna say
I
he's
looked
like
it up, and yeah, his 200% other than Tech UI, it's like pretty much all characters that are just not meta relevant anymore. It's like the physical 8-year duo, like Birdku, like just all these characters like physical God Goku, like characters that you just don't really use that much anymore, are like his
Hmm.
200% leaders other than Tech UI. So that's why, like I say,
I
he
feel
really
like
would benefit from like the Carnival LR being a super class Majin Buu Saga leader. But
Hmm.
I would say there's not really a reason for him to build up. He should just have that on super in slot 3 or
mm,
something like that, or slot 2 or 3. Because like him building up, okay, he builds up to the 40% dodge chance, and then he gets the total dodge chance of 70% slot 2 or 3. But it's not like he needs to dodge before he attacks in slot 2 or 3. So why not
Hmm.
just make it after he attacks? He has that.
mm,
uh, I mean, if we get AoE bosses in the future, it would be useful for that to be start of turn like that. But
yeah.
yeah, it's whatever. He still does this real fine. I
Hmm.
think he just could have been maybe a little better, but whatever. I do like him overall.
Whatever.
Hmm.
Next, we have the other EZAs. Well, I guess I say other EZAs, but the actual EZAs
Hmm.
with Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Majin Vegeta. Now, these two characters are looking really good. I just want to say straight up, though, looks like Vegeta is going to be in a much better spot.
Hell
But
yeah.
Vilify,
Finally,
I know.
victory
Yeah.
for the Vegeta fans. Let's go.
I
Woo.
mean, look, Ningen, I know, I think you agreed with me when Vegeta came out. I always thought Vegeta was better than Goku,
Yeah, same.
personally.
Yep.
Hmm.
Um, I think there are some people in the community who thought Goku was better. I feel like it's a lot more clear now with their EZAs than pre-EZA.
Hmm.
But Vilify, what are you thinking about these two EZAs based off their details?
Just refreshing myself on what we got going on here, right? I really like this rainbow orb changing with the damage reduction and the base that Vegeta has.
Yeah.
And I think that what you said is definitely like consistent, right? Where you talk about how Super Saiyan 3 or Vegeta was always better with the transformation, right? Especially considering he had guard with like the orbs and stuff like that. This character looks pretty good, right? Like I said, I'm just kind of quickly refreshing myself on how this works. But they did fix the transformation conditions for both of these characters, so that completely does it doesn't like change things forever, right? But it definitely helps. It doesn't hurt to have it, right?
Hmm.
But just kind of checking right here. Yeah, so the damage reduction with guard and all these different fun things, and effective against all types. So like, this character is going to be pretty easy to make work. And we talk about like this all the time with like evolution. This kind of does remind me of Evolution Blue Vegeta and UI Goku in a way where Vegeta's probably going to be more consistent defensively, while Goku could potentially have a higher reward. Because like with this Majin Vegeta, we
Mm.
have guard and damage reduction, which we always want, but with Goku, like obviously dodging an attack is better than taking it for double digits. So it's kind of just one of those things. But yeah,
Yeah.
Vegeta, I think in base is definitely looking a lot better. And it's rare that Vegeta takes the W, but this is like the one time that it actually works.
I actually see an argument that Goku's better in base form. And
Okay.
that's because he has just the straight up 70% chance to dodge.
Hmm.
Vegeta, I don't know if his defense will be high enough with 50% reduction to tank supers, but I
Hmm.
think that both of them will be able to tank normals. So I could see a situation where Super Saiyan 2 Goku with a 70% chance to dodge will just be overall better against what really kills you, which is super attacks,
Mhm.
than Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta.
Right.
Because of, I don't think their defense stats, like Vegeta's defense stat, like in Super Saiyan 2 even, I'm not sure how high it's going to be, especially because, if he's at higher health, he doesn't really get much of the defense boost
Mm.
compared to what Goku is. And sure, Vegeta has a reduction, right? So, but I think both of them will be tanking normals. I just think like in neither of their defenses will be enough to tank supers, of course, especially Goku, but Goku will have the 70% dodge chance. And especially if we're talking about like early on, turn one, turn two, I think it's going to be pretty common if you load in, obviously, turn one with this guy, he's going to always have his 70% dodge.
Mhm.
Then you could float him off or keep him on rotation. And if they hopefully transform next turn, I think it's when they transform, that's where Vegeta 100% becomes better.
Yeah.
But I could see the argument for Goku being better.
I think
base form.
I think it just accentuates, like, their transformed versions are just kind of accentuated, like EZAs are, I guess, of what they were doing before, but it just makes that divide more obvious, where it's like Vegeta's definitely stronger defensively, whereas Goku is like more offense, but then relies on dodge as his main
Mhm.
form of defense, right? And not
I
to
would
say that
say
Vegeta's not good offensively either, right? I know they can both get up to putting out some crazy numbers. But yeah,
well,
someone
I think
posted some
about
calcs. I think you would have seen them, Minato, because I think it was in the group chat. I think it was Rhodey posted them. But it's like he has to get hit with an attack. It's something like 5 or 6 million or something when he's fully built up for him to take more than double digits, like, which is after supering. When he's fully built up as Majin Vegeta. Like, if you get the
yeah,
orbs and he supers first, yeah, he'll take double digits up until something like 5 million damage or something, which is insane, right? So he's
that's really good.
also, somebody in chat
Um,
was saying about Vegeta's been getting to shine a lot in 2024. The thing we mainly mean is whenever they release a Goku and Vegeta at the same time, where the cards are very similar but slightly different, it's almost
Mhm.
always the case that the Goku is better, right? So this is one of those rare occasions where the Vegeta seems to actually be better. So
yeah, that's really funny. But like and when Super Saiyan 4, Goku and Vegeta were out for its second anniversary, right? I think it's pretty universally agreed that Goku was the better option.
Mhm.
But also it's like, okay, the thing about Goku and Vegeta right here is Vegeta gets the attack boost being at higher HP, but then he gets just all the consistent defense tanking. So it's a thing of you load in to transform with these guys, and if you're at a higher HP level, Vegeta is just going to be hitting harder than Goku. They do the same amount of super attacks.
mhm.
Vegeta is super effective as well, but then Goku, it's like Vegeta has the guard, damage reduction, super effective, and extra supers, whilst Goku just has the crit and extra supers. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
have
Mhm.
anything on top of that. Like them both having the same amount of super attacks is weird, especially because Goku won't have as high attack stats, even though he has the crit to compensate. I think what they should have done with Goku is he gets 70% chance to crit when he gets one Rainbow Key Sphere,
Mm.
but then he gets guaranteed crit when he gets 6 orbs, which as a Rainbow Orb Changers is not really difficult. They should have given Goku an extra additional guaranteed super attack
Yeah.
with the Rainbow Key Sphere, or if they wanted to be nice, they could even give him guard. I think that wouldn't be like the biggest deal ever, especially as an
Mhm.
int type unit. I think there's a lot of physical bosses right now, but just take off the 70% chance to crit. I think even just an additional guaranteed super attack that adds so much extra damage and leads to this Goku is obviously supposed to be the more offensive version of this guy, and he has the 80% dodge still. I don't think it would have been that big of a deal um to just allow him to have that. And especially if you fall under 50% HP, Goku gets crit but loses his defensive mechanic, while Vegeta just gains guaranteed defensive mechanic, and I guess he will lose a great chance his additional super, but Vegeta's role is not damage, it's defense, while Goku kind of loses the important, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he gains something that isn't needed, right? Whereas
Mhm.
Vegeta at least gains something that is useful.
Yeah.
Um, even though I guess you're always gonna be grabbing the orbs with him anyway, so I guess Vegeta ends up losing, but yeah, at least he gets more
Mhm.
defense stats, which still helps out to his goal. But I don't know. You guys get my point. I think overall,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
where
think
Goku has
the only thing I think that is, and it's a very minor thing, the only thing that Vegeta suffers from, I guess, compared to Goku, is the orb changing is obviously when there's a Buu Saga ally, which with this Angel Goku, there's obviously a ton of his link partners and like, you know, the Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, all those characters they just put on there, like Dragon Fist Goku, Family Kamehameha Gohan, stuff like that. All these other teams that he can go on that has some of these other characters. Whereas, like, I know for me personally, as a big Vegeta fan and a fan of like the Teq Vegeta family team, anytime there's like a new Vegeta family buff, that's one of the first things I'm thinking is like, how's this guy going to look on that Teq Vegeta team? And unfortunately, there basically aren't any like really good Vegeta family Majin Buu Saga characters. Unless, you know, fingers crossed we get the Buu Saga Carnival LR, and so then they EZA physical Angel Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. But that's the only downside is obviously, and that orb changing is something that of course is going to come in really handy because you want to be getting those 6 orbs for them to get their abilities. So them giving them rainbow orb changing is a massive like W for their EZA, but it is locked behind that condition, which is kind of reliant on the team building a little bit, which I feel, like I say, isn't as bad for Goku on some of his teams than it is for Vegeta on some of his other teams. But other than that, like, I would say Vegeta clears fairly easily, but
yeah, especially
not to say Goku's not good, of course, but
oh yeah, no, both are good still. I think, you know, turn 3 with the enemy above 50% HP, I could see that being an issue in the Gogeta Janemba fights.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we know? We don't know what the condition is, do we yet? Right? Or
no, we do. The data download.
Oh, it was in there. Okay, so did it change at all, or is it?
It's facing one enemy whose HP is 50% or more, starting with the 3rd turn.
Okay, good. Wasn't it like 80? Yeah, that was brutal. Because you could get stuck in a cycle, even in fights that had multiple phases. You could just get stuck in a cycle where they kept coming onto rotation on like the 2nd turn of that new phase. So then they wouldn't transform, and then you'd kill the enemy on that phase. So then they'd come in on the 2nd turn of the next phase, and then they'd just never transform, which is super awkward.
Exactly.
Whereas now, I mean, even in fights like Janemba and Gogeta, unless you are using a really high burst damage team, you're probably not doing half of their health in one turn.
Well, no, because it'd be that 1st turn, the 2nd turn, and then you come into the 3rd. So it'd be 2 turns.
Oh yeah, true. Yes,
I think it's not realistic. It's not like unrealistic to have them under 50% HP by the 3rd turn. There are short fights, but you know, if we consider like Super Saiyan 3 Goku's team and the Gogeta fight, you could also realize, oh, Super Saiyan 3 Goku can't even damage Gogeta because there's no domain up, so his super attacks get nullified. And Super Saiyan 3 Goku, the AGL one, he's kind of like one of the bigger damage dealers of the team. So I think you could easily on that team like not get Gogeta under 50%.
Okay.
Janemba, I don't know. If you're running STR Gohan, Janemba is cooked very quickly, arguably, on the Buu Saga team. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I could really see base Super Saiyan 3 Goku being better than base Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. It just depends. If base Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta has defense to tank super attacks, then I would flip back around. But I think you guys kind of see where I'm coming from with that, right?
Yeah.
Like the normal. I like how I say base Super Saiyan 2, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that all the time in my videos, right? When you're talking about like a character that transforms from like Super Saiyan to Super Saiyan 2 or something, and you say, oh, in base. But I mean Super Saiyan, but you guys know what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm excited to try these guys out. They do come out on because it depends on your time zone. For me, it'd be the 9th, but a lot of the world would be the 10th.
Yeah, because it's Tuesday. It'll be the morning of Tuesday the 10th for me that they come out. So
it says in Dokkan info at the time of this recording. It is 3 hours and then. Oh no, not 3 hours. 3 days and 7 hours.
Yeah.
Basically. So we'll have to wait and see how they're going to be in game. I'm excited. Yeah, I think again, keep in mind, I'm pretty sure that week is also the week when the Carnival R drops. So they could be very well pairing with the Part 2 LR.
Yeah, I do think it's weird. It's something we mentioned very briefly earlier that I just wanted to chuck in as well. I thought it was very weird that they tweeted out their details and then like the next day we got the data download and it's like they don't come out for a week. It's like, why did they tweet their information out so early? That's kind of crazy.
Well,
they've done that before.
I mean, they've done that before. They just want to reveal it before they did a download. But obviously, I think the reason why is because like on the 10th or something, there's like again, my thought process with Part 2 LR is that we're actually going to see. I think we could see the Part 2 LR like the night these EZAs come out,
Mhm.
Hmm.
like 3 hours after the EZA come out, we could see the Part 2 LR, then a data download the next day, and then the Part 2 LR comes out right before the World Tournament.
Yep.
Could be what it is, or it could be like the night after. Either way, I think on the 10th or 11th will be when we see the Part 2 LR.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure they'll drop right before the World Tournament because Elder Kai banner resets that week.
Yep.
Sales leave that week. It just makes a lot of sense
I
to
wonder why
me
that is.
personally.
Yeah, it's gonna
Well,
be
we'll
that.
see.
It's that
Could wait the
typical
week after.
Dokkan
Heroes
thing
Part
where
2.
it's that typical Dokkan thing where there's like there was no content for like the end of this week / this weekend, so they could have done the World Tournament this weekend, and then next week we have the Carnival LR and everything come out at the end of the week. But as usual, it's gonna all come out at the same time instead. So,
Because when did the in Super Saiyan Zero come out? They came out on
the 14th.
The 14th.
Yeah, so I was
It's
thinking it would be
usually,
Friday
like,
the
this week.
13th. Yeah, because it was the 14th last time. But
Because we could talk about this thing next, but I'm trying to bring out the timeline of events for JP just so we can make sure. Again,
no, yeah, the
December,
14th last year was a Thursday,
14th
so it
was
could be the
last
12th.
year.
Yeah, this year if it was going to be the same day, it would be Thursday the 12th for me.
Then the year before, 2022, was Rudigarden, or not Rudigarden, the 15th. So it's always been basically this week.
Mhm.
Future Trunks and Gohan were the 16th as well.
Mhm.
So I mean, they could wait to drop the Part 2 LR after the World Tournament. It's not like a 0% chance, but I would assume it's gonna be this week.
Mm.
Is
Yeah, I
my
think
thought
so.
process. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep.
I mean, nothing's ever guaranteed, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah,
Anyways,
deal with guarantees in Dokkan. Come on now. Except for Noella Kid Buu.
I mean, yeah. I'm looking here. It's usually like this third week of December.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess this is the second week of December, but it's like the dates this year are weird. Who knows? Keep in mind that a lot of times they've had a world tournament and then announced an LR right as the world tournament is about to end. Like that happened with LR Golden Frieza. So take that as you. Next, we have
Woo!
10th anniversary ads. Now,
Boom, boom.
a lot of discussion was had about this in the community.
Yeah.
I'm gonna straight out say it. I think people are looking too much into it, and
Yep.
we just need to wait for more information.
Boo.
Vilify seems like he feels otherwise, so go ahead
No,
and take the floor.
I just wanted to. We just gotta like act like it's just for the fun. It's like, oh, this is what it means, right?
I mean, not really. I mean, like,
I don't know. It's fun to have a theory about it, right? Rather than saying it means nothing.
I think that it's we could obviously theorize about
Right.
it. I'm just gonna say, I don't want to be like, oh guys, I'm so excited for this, and it's like, I'm like,
Right.
not actually like, I want to be
Yeah.
real about it, and I think a lot
Right.
of people kind of feel the same way, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
these ads could mean something, but they could mean nothing. They could be because they don't use like they've never revealed the theme this early.
Yeah.
in December.
Right.
So I would almost argue that these ads could mean that the theme is not related to Namek or Saint Saga at all, because it's like, would they reveal it this early? Would it be them building up to something? Who knows? Well, I mean, it could literally just be they're picking moments that they feel is important, and
Yep.
then just like going through the Saga of Z. Maybe anniversary is Dragon Ball Z themed or something like that, right? And we get like Z Heroes category or something. Like, we'll see. That's really all I could say that could come from it. Besides that, who knows?
I think I had such a good train of thought that you had. Oh, well, yeah. So it wasn't a good one, but like we could sit here and talk about for an hour about how like this is going to confirm it's Namek Saga, and then tomorrow they tweet a video of like, now it's your turn, Gohan, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I guess that meant nothing, right? So
Yeah.
you said, I think you said it well though, where it's like to me it's just like, if you really want me to like put like a theory out there, it would just be that they're going through like significant moments of the series,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's like tomorrow when we see a video of Cell building the Cell ring or something like that. I'm just throwing out random like teasers, right? And I wouldn't be surprised one bit, because it's like, I don't, like you said, like revealing the theme in the first week of December. This isn't like years ago where like the figures got leaked, right? Like
Yeah.
we've kind of gone past those days. So they're not gonna
Plus,
tweet the theme out literally 6 weeks in advance.
yeah,
So
exactly.
we have
And then
we have a
obviously
ways to go.
the figure leaks are not like in their control.
Fair.
Um,
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like we don't have anything to, because like, you know, the 5th year, the 6th year, like we had things to go off of. Like now it's just like we have to nitpick a video that they put on social media, a tweet that they put out. We have to look at themes of other characters. It's like, what teams are they buffing? It's all just speculation, and like 99% of it's going to be wrong, but who knows? Like
Yeah.
maybe it could be Goku and Frieza. That is the Dragon Ball fight. Like they could do that for Annie if they wanted to. So
I'm
like it or not, right?
I'm gonna assume one of the more popular theories is just gonna end up being correct because that's how it's
Mhm.
always been, right?
Right.
Like last year, everyone was guessing, "Oh, Gogeta and Broly," even before we got any of the teasers, because
Mhm.
it's like, well, or Gogeta and Beast, but yeah, Broly was there too, of course, because it's like
Yeah, it was
just
like-
kind of was like it's obvious.
Yeah, it was like Gogeta, Beast, and UI were like the top 3 picks, and
Yeah.
then it ended up being 2 of those, funnily enough. So yeah,
And on global, like technically, it was all 3 of them.
well,
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
True.
UI Goku ended up coming after all because it was like
Right.
UI Goku because you could tell by upcoming EZAs. I think it was one of
Mhm.
the biggest things that
Mm.
people were talking about.
yeah,
So like if I look at like we could literally pulling up Misaka, the things they have right now. Like, okay, let's talk about the EZAs that's upcoming. There's
Mhm.
Angel Vegeta, Golden
Yep.
Frieza. There's
Mhm.
a lot of movie stuff coming up, right? But there's a
Movie.
lot of GT2. There's Super
Mhm.
Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the Super Saiyan
Mm.
GT Goku and Vegeta, Super 17. If we're talking about movie stuff, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Pikkon Janemba, Goku and Piccolo, right? Kid Gohan isn't really a movie's character. There's Cell Saga stuff that's
Mhm.
upcoming, right? There's the Trunks, the androids, future Gohan and Trunks, right?
Mhm.
There's a mix of a lot of these things that like you could pretty accurately guess what's going to happen.
Mm.
So like if we get like Cell Saga as part of the anniversary, there are some EZAs. I do want to note though that last year all the EZAs from the anniversary were LRs. So I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if the other EZAs for the anniversary also ended up being LRs again, but I just think
Mm.
there's too many TURs in this space unless they start grabbing for 2022.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure. But then there's also super EZAs you could consider. It's like I think there's a more this year you can consider than last year because of super EZAs. It's just a lot. But you could definitely piece together the theory, or at least make like you can make like 5 guesses based off EZAs, and one of them will
Mhm.
likely be correct,
Right.
or at least a part.
and
of
that's
the
and the thing is, I just wanted to say as well, like when it comes to trying to make any sort of guess or like prediction from those ads, like if all 3 of them had been Namek Saga or all 3 of them were like
Mhm.
Saiyan Saga, then maybe you could try and extrapolate like from that. But it's the fact that like the first 2 were Namek Saga. I don't know the order that they would have been posted, but the order I saw them in, it's like the first 2 were Namek Saga, and then there was a Saiyan Saga one. So
Right.
again, like Vilify said, like the idea that it could be just going through all the sagas. I've seen the theory as well. I think Weeble Class said it in the chat as well. Like the idea that it's just building up like Goku and Vegeta and their like rivalry and everything. Like it could be any of those
Mhm.
things, right? Because they've done that in the past with the anniversaries as well before, where they've had like
Mhm.
these different teasers for like different parts of the story, and then it's ended up being something like completely different. Like it could be every teaser ad could be one of the arcs of Z, and then the anniversary is like Dragon Ball Super themed
Mhm.
because that comes afterwards. Like, so yeah, I think it's too early to take any sort of real important like data from the teasers. It's cool to see them, like it's cool that those exist, because I think Air posted earlier, wasn't it, like one of those actually showed like before the Daima episode, like on TV in Japan, like today one of those played, which is really cool. But yeah, there's not like anything super detailed that we can really take from it. So but yeah, it's cool to see them, but Yeah, it's exactly. Proton said take the ads with a bucket of salt. Exactly. So
Right.
Yeah. No, but we'll see what happens with them. There's not really much to say from them. You could make guesses, but yeah,
Right.
as of now, fun
Mhm.
speculation at least. I like talking with the community, but
Mm-hmm.
speaking of talking with the community, we do have the trash
I
take segment
I
as
was
always.
I was gonna say, just to like, because Vilify mentioned it before we go into this, because I forgot. I was gonna say I didn't want to go into it when Vilify mentioned it because I thought it was the trash take, but then it wasn't the one that we picked.
Uh-huh.
So just to get your guys' thoughts, since Vilify mentioned it briefly, is what are your thoughts on people saying that like Namek Saga isn't hype enough to be the theme of the anniversary? Because like
think
Vilify
that
said, it's like Goku versus Frieza is kind of like the fight, right? For a lot of people, it's like one of the most iconic anime fights. It's where Super
it
Saiyan comes
transcends Dragon
from.
Ball.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Like, I mean, whether you personally would appreciate it or not, like, what do you think about Namek for anniversary?
Super Saiyan Goku. Like, how you? It's like the Super Saiyan Goku. Like, how are you not gonna think that that's anniversary worthy? I don't have to say anything else. Like, it's
I mean,
and
Yeah.
Frieza is definitely the most iconic Dragon Ball villain.
Yeah, he's the most popular Dragon Ball villain, isn't he? Like in general, obviously not.
100%.
Everyone's different, but generally, like he's the
think
most
just-
popular. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I use the word iconic. Like, he's
Yep.
the most iconic villain because
it's between who? Him, Cell, and Broly?
yeah.
I think. Well, apparently,
Broly's really
apparently
good.
Cell is
Yeah.
not that popular. Okay, is it Cell?
I wouldn't
can't
say
remember.
Cell is as much. Cell is
Okay.
like I would argue Majin Buu might be more
Mm.
notable than Cell potentially.
But yeah, it's like
I don't know.
Frieza, Broly, and then I guess with like the new generation, like Goku Black is obviously quite popular as well. But
Yeah.
like Frieza, for me, like as much as I'm a really big fan of like Goku Black and Zamasu, I think that was a really cool way of them like finally doing like the evil Goku. But like Frieza is still up there as like the iconic like Dragon Ball villain, right? So
I feel like it has to be.
yeah, I don't see how you could not think like the main Goku versus Frieza fight is like not hype enough to be a big celebration, especially when you think about imagine like having that. It would be kind of a mix of like the STR Goku that we have already, but like having the first Super Saiyan transformation, but like with the animation quality that we have now and voiced and everything.
Right.
Like, dude. And then finally having a final form Frieza Dokkan Fest as well, and then
Right.
I imagine he would
mean,
transform into full power, but like
And
be
It's
awesome.
the thing of Namek Saga. Like when you think of Dragon Ball, so many people think of Namek Saga, and then when you think of Super Saiyan Goku, so many people think of Namek Saga, and Frieza's tied directly to that. So
Yeah.
like when you think of Dragon Ball, I think Namek Saga is just like one of the biggest things. Like people don't think to specifically the Broly movie. You know,
Yeah. 100%.
that's what I'm thinking.
I have a thought for like a Frieza. This is just kind of like a fan made thing here. Imagine a standby for like a final form Frieza, and the standby is him going by like intervals of 10% on like the meter, right? It's like when you get out of that standby, you're 100% full power.
That'd be
Something
cool.
like that.
Also, you got the destroyed Namek, like half destroyed as like a domain.
You can do that as a
Like,
domain,
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, that kind of stuff.
I mean, come on.
I mean, yet another
It's Frieza
extreme
we're talking
domain,
about.
but yeah, no, that
Yeah.
would be super cool. But yeah, I just wanted to see what you guys thought. I'm not surprised that we're kind of all in the same boat, but yeah, I know
mean, being
people
very-
love big fusions and stuff like that for anniversary, but Namek Saga is how can you not think that that's hype? I don't know.
It's not a little dog, if you will.
last thing I would say is I think when it comes to domain, it's like we say another villain domain, which there's been so many villain domains, but it's a thing of like to kind of guide them to the teams. Like you're not obviously running Frieza on demonic power or power absorption because he does teams. So like if you're thinking about Wicked Bloodline, like this would be the first Wicked Bloodline domain. So in that sense. Or even Namek Saga, like Namek Saga doesn't have any domains, so
AGL Vegeta stocks are up.
yeah, sure. Extreme Class Namek Saga. I mean, AGL Vegeta, like as a floater, Namek Saga, Rainbow Orb changing, like he might not be a bad idea. Like imagine AGL Vegeta as like we have full power Frieza with guard and like 2 million defense in slot 1, and then
Yep.
AGL Vegeta makes all the key spheres into AGL. And then he just heals your full HP.
Does Vegeta have big bad bosses?
No.
Okay.
But he like as a
That's
floater
right. He could be in
character,
slot
it
3.
doesn't really
Floater,
matter.
yeah.
Maybe
I thought you meant, like,
maybe
slot-
that'll
okay,
explain
okay.
if Namek Saga being the anniversary could explain why they released that Vegeta and then basically just didn't really buff the Namek Saga category and then moved on to something else.
They
Meaning
did
to
a
love
lot
that
of them,
one.
but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right.
I don't want to talk about Namek Saga right now. Maybe
Yeah.
in
No, that's
different
fine.
days.
I didn't want to get us too sidetracked, but yeah, I just wanted to bring
Right.
that up.
No, it's a
since
good.
we
It was a
were-
good discussion. It was a good discussion. But yeah, what's it called? I guess at this point we just move on to your trash takes, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Well, there we go. Well, Ningen, you can go ahead and bring it up, and I guess I'll go ahead and read it out for y'all.
Mhm.
No mistakes this time, right? Don't read 3 different ones.
There we go.
I picked this week, so
Yeah, hand
All right.
picked it.
for this week's trash take, we have, of course, a submission by IHTS Carter. Thank you very much for your submission. We definitely appreciate again you guys answering. Next episode, we might try something a little different, so stay tuned for that. But from here, the trash take specifically is the Bulma fight is not a gimmick fight. The mechanics she has already existed. She's just if the intensifying battles in Ultimate Clash made out and made her. So they're essentially saying the mechanics that Bulma has already have existed in game, and they're just a extreme version of them as like a hard difficulty version of those existing contents that is usually like for like let's say early or mid tier players, right, who are like new or like semi new to the game compared to end game players. So I know I picked this one because I actually do know that Ningen and I don't necessarily agree on this.
Yeah,
and
that's
we're
right.
interested in discussion.
I'll
Boom.
let you guys give
I'll
your
let-
arguments, I guess, and do you want me to dictate the end result here? I
I'll
get to
let-
be biased.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll let Ningen go
All right.
first.
All right, so I think that this is a massive, gigantic, humongous, universal L take because the Bulma fight is the absolute definition of a gimmick fight. Just because it has things that have been used in other fights before. I mean, I don't know. I don't get why that makes any difference because I could just say that those were gimmick fights as well. I don't know if we want to specify which ones they were, but the Bulma fight specifically is a gimmick fight because of the way it's built with like I think the first 2 phases specifically. And I know this is something that we have talked about, I believe, in the past when we were talking about like different ways that you would evaluate what you would call like the best team in the game or something like that, right? But the example that I think of is, so let's say Buuhan has just come out, right? So I can put together a build for Buuhan's team that can absolutely destroy Gogeta, Janemba, Goku and Frieza, Beast Gohan, Blue Gogeta, I know those are older fights, Cell Max, and then I go into the Bulma fight and I just keep losing in phase 1 and 2 because I don't pick up enough rainbow orbs or I don't do enough additional supers. I don't understand how that is not the absolute definition of a gimmick fight because you have to build your team around the gimmicks of the event. Otherwise, you can't even get through to the last phase, right? Whereas like even in tougher fights, like let's say Goku and Frieza as an example, we all know, like I did a reaction to the run and everything, like Truth beat Goku and Frieza with the Heroes team. Like you can use some of these like meme teams against certain runs because you can get away with like clutch dodges and all that kind of stuff. Whereas for this event specifically, like if you don't bring a rainbow orb changer on your team, it's just complete RNG whether you actually get past the first phase or not. And even if you bring a rainbow orb changer, if they're in slot 7 or even on turn 2 and you get unlucky, then you just don't win, regardless of like what team you're using, what the abilities of the other characters do. Yeah, I just don't like. I mean, I guess maybe people will have different definitions of what a gimmick fight is, but like I don't understand if gimmick fights are a thing that we're going to classify some fights as, then I don't see how this fight like isn't one of them. So. Because yeah, like I said, you can take teams that are super good and work really well in other like every other fight in the game without even having to change the team builds at all, and then they won't be able to beat this fight, not because the team like doesn't do enough damage or you just get killed, it's because you can't do the gimmicks of the fight, right? So yeah, I don't know. I don't get it personally. So come on, Minato, let me know. Why is it
So
not a gimmick fight?
I completely disagree with the points that you made because
Oh.
of the fact that you're saying that you have to build your team around the Bulma fight. But you have to do the same thing for Goku Frieza. You have to do the same thing for Gogeta and Janemba. And the reason for that is because unit designs at this point have gone so complex that not every team build and not every character, unless you're just like the definitive best team in the game, like an in Broly team, even potentially. And even then, it's like there's units you sub out in certain fights. You brought up the Goku Frieza fight, and you brought up, oh, you can get clutch dodge, but you can't dodge in the 17 and Frieza phase. You can't bring dodge characters in there unless you have
Mhm.
dodge to staple character, or maybe someone potentially also has guard like into Gohan. You can kind of get away from it in there. But then another example I brought up earlier this podcast, I brought in Gohan for that reason, and then he got locked in slot 7. No, he got locked. Yeah, he was in slot 7. He got locked turn 1 by 17, and then
Mhm.
17 instantly killed him. That is just me instantly losing because of how my rotations are, because the 17 fight locks. What's the difference in that and then you losing because your Rainbow Orb Changer was in slot 7 with the Bulma fight? I personally don't see the difference because that is the boss's ability causing you to lose,
Mhm.
not the unit in itself. Another thing is I don't see where you don't ever build your team in a way that doesn't try to counteract the boss. You're not going to bring stacking characters in the Gogeta fight. You're going to bring a character even like into Fapu or Super Saiyan 3 Goku who can instantly handle what the boss is doing. But then, let's say Fapu, for example, or Super Saiyan 3 Goku, in Goku and Frieza, they could have trouble in that fight because Ibu doesn't do enough damage, or Super Saiyan 3 Goku tapers off later on. The thing of saying that Bulma's mechanic specifically makes her a gimmick fight when other bosses also have very powerful mechanics that keep you from playing even sometimes or using certain characters in general, it's the same thing at the end of the day. These mechanics are keeping you from using certain characters. That's just how all bosses are designed. So I don't see where you can call Bulma a gimmick fight, but then not Goku and Frieza, or even Gogeta nullify certain super attacks. You have to bring a domain ability for him to actually get rid of that. Janemba makes it difficult to bring a lot of STR characters, like let's say even Roshi, right? Roshi, you could bring his team, but then you have Vidal and then Roshi, and then Janemba gets the huge attack buff and then ends up killing them just because of their typing. Not every character is going to be good in every fight, but I don't know. It just feels weird to specifically quote Boma out for it just because maybe she has the most annoying version of these gimmicks, right?
I think,
But at the end of the day, all these bosses have very tough gimmicks that hinder your characters and what characters you bring.
yeah, I think the difference is just what you would, I guess it comes down to what you would consider like is a gimmick more so than, I guess you could be right in the sense that some mechanics people will be a bit more favorable to than
Mhm.
saying they are like straight out gimmicks, right? Because obviously I hate rotation locking, because yeah, that is a thing that you could be doing super well in the event, and then if you want to be using no items, because obviously you can get rid of rotation locking with certain items, but like you can get to a certain turn and then it's just like, well, you just lose now because the wrong unit got locked in slot 1, so you just die.
Or I
um
do want to point out, like in 17 and Frieza in that phase, I'm bringing HOUI Goku, Raps Universe 7. One of my characters end up doing an additional super attack or more damage than I kind of wanted them to do. Then I
Mhm.
load it into that phase that cancels dodge, and my HOUI, he's just dead because of the boss, and I couldn't get the domain out. Right? That is not the fault of the unit, but the fault of the event, and I instantly lose because of how the event is designed.
Yeah,
I don't.
I think the reason why the Bulma one gets singled out more, and someone else mentioned this in the chat. Shout out to Jaren, but
Mhm.
it's the fact that it's the multiple different mechanics in the same fight, because there are some teams where like I mean, obviously not every team can beat every event, and I do agree, like you said, you're not always going to just be running the same 6 units against every fight, but some of them, they just don't feel like they balance off against each other super well, because like some teams, for example, if you are going to bring rainbow orb changers, the only rainbow orb changers on that team are characters that like don't do any additionals or potentially aren't very good defensively, so then your team will struggle in phase 2 or phase 4 against the final Bulma because you had to build part of the team to get through phase 1. So then you can bring characters that will do guaranteed additionals or something or give extra key, because that's the other thing about phase 2, which is super annoying. It's like you have to do 4 supers, but you also get -9 key. So then you bring characters that can do a bunch of additionals, but then none of those characters are rainbow orb changers or are particularly good defensively for phase 4. But then you also have to have characters on your team that are good defensively, so that when you get through the first 2 phases, you can then still do the phase at the end. And I think it's the combination of the mechanics, I think, that make it feel like such an annoying, like, gimmicky fight. Because it's not even necessarily, I wouldn't say calling it a gimmick fight as well, just to be clear as well. I don't necessarily mean that as to say like that's a bad thing. I'm not saying like it's a gimmick fight and therefore it's bad. That's just the way I would describe it, because you really do have to build the team in a very certain way to get it done. Whereas I think other events, you do have to still consider the boss mechanics, but like things like locking, I mean, there's not really much you can do about that other than to bring a team that is largely strong defensively. But those characters are then not going to necessarily have these other abilities like rainbow orb changing and additional supers and all this kind of stuff.
Well,
So
I just think that that exact argument applies to Goku Frieza. Because, okay, let's say you bring really strong defensive characters. Not a lot of characters are going to be strong defensively, but also because they straight up tank supers. Many of the strongest defensive characters are because they just straight up dodge, you know? But then you can't, unless you have a unit like Teq Buuhan, and Teq Buuhan is the only character that could disable dodge, even like disable the dodge, disable mechanic, I guess you could say. Like he's the only character that can do that. So if you don't have him, it's like, okay, I need a strong slot 1 character that also isn't a dodge character, that also doesn't taper off during the fight or needs to build up. And then you could do all that for Goku Frieza, and then it's like the same thing where you have to recognize and think about multiple mechanics in that fight. Maybe not as much as Goku and Frieza, but then with Goku and Frieza, you have to consider, the type of this boss, what restrictions, and that's why I'm saying units are so complex nowadays that that argument could be applied to any of these bosses, because all these bosses at this point also have multiple mechanics. It's not, if when it was just like, let's say if we go back in time and it was just maybe Goku and Frieza and Bulma, but then now we have these 2 fights, and I'm sure the 10th anniversary is also going to have fights that will have minus key, locking, evasion, disable. And then it's either a thing of, I would argue that I don't mind it being called a gimmick fight. I actually just think that it shouldn't be the only fight that you call a gimmick fight, because these other difficult fights also have multiple of these annoying mechanics. It's either they're all gimmick fights, all 4 of them, or none of them. I don't think singling her out as the one gimmick fight makes sense to me personally.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You want me to give my thoughts now? I'm sorry, I was just kind of letting you guys go.
You can go, right?
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
okay.
okay.
I mean, really, it's like I know the third opinion here, and I'm gonna kind of take like the more passive route here, where I think that there are validity to both sides. The one thing I will say about the Bulma event, or like when you talk about Goku Frieza, the Goku Frieza gimmicks, if you will, are stuff that takes you out, takes your HP from 750,000 to 0, right? Where you can go into the Bulma fight with a team that's fully set up, and you do you make the plays right, but you just don't get the amount of rainbow orbs, or this unit doesn't do a super, and you just lose, right? It's not you were defeated by the boss, it was just that the game ended because you didn't meet a requirement.
Yeah.
And so I guess that is where things are a little bit different, but I think that you said it well, where technically like every fight is a gimmick, right? A lock is a gimmick, an AoE is a gimmick. That's what makes these bosses unique, and it's just what the hot take I think really kind of said is correct, right? Where Bulma is just kind of an extreme version of this, where rainbow orb changing and running characters that potentially might not be very good anymore. Like recently, for another thing that I had to do, I had to run the youth team in the Goku and Frieza, not the Goku Frieza fight, the Bulma fight, right? And so a character that ended up being really valuable, and the friend system be damned, right? Pat the Power Kid Goku was really good for this because of his rainbow orb changing ability, because of the key that he was able to give when Bulma was around, and it made that challenge a lot easier to do. But when you have to build a team and you're like, oh, what's a good option here? Pat the Power Kid Goku from 2022. I think that really speaks volumes to just how like strange that fight is compared to the rest of the game, where you're going to need an X amount of rainbow orbs, and then you're going to need an X amount of super attacks, and the game is actively trying to make sure that you can't super attack. And I just think it can be a lot more frustrating when I don't know what's more frustrating to you guys: a character not dodging, or not enough rainbow orbs are changed, or you just don't get that one super, right?
I would agree that it's more frustrating.
Let's rip the Band-Aid off, right? Like the whole game's RNG, right? It's all stat. Like, do you get the super? Do you get the dodge? Does the boss super here?
Yeah.
Sometimes the boss super is consistent, right? Goku Frieza, they super slot 1 every time, basically, right? You think about a character like is it the Supreme Magnificent Battle, where it's the standby Super Saiyan Goku, where he's only going to attack once on that turn, and I think he may heal, but it's always going to be a super.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's one of those things. Like where who's another good example? Like who's like a prominent AOE, right? Like Blue Gogeta. You have to probably run that fight 1,000 times, and Blue Gogeta Blue Zone is not going to easy or AOE, right? And so all of these gimmicks, they kind of just add up. And I think that with the Bulma one, it's just specifically people are not, and granted they shouldn't be, but people are not used to you don't fulfill a specific condition during the fight, you lose, rather than it being, oh, the enemy took your HP down. And so I think that's where like the big thing kind of comes from with calling it a gimmick fight, because it's just not the traditional way of losing. Therefore, it feels like an extended gimmick.
Yeah,
but
I think that's
you said it well. Every fight is a gimmick. It's like a high damage super. Guess what? It's a gimmick, right? Like a super that's going to take Beast Gohan for 500k of his HP, which is granted very rare, but that's a gimmick super technically. Like it's I don't know. It's tough, but I think that you could be on either side of the fence and be right. It doesn't matter.
Make a very fair point with that, because I would say that it's a different way of losing and how you lose compared to the norm that we usually see. It's usually the boss kills you, and then you're like, okay, he killed me, but then it's like Bulma, oh, I couldn't get the orb, so then Bulma just leaves. It's kind of like, I think it's less of it being gimmicky, but then it's just more of an unsatisfying result.
Yeah,
people are feeling.
I definitely agree with that.
And then they're saying, oh, it's gimmicky because of that.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say they're necessarily wrong. But I just would say it's a thing of, again, in my opinion, I personally view it as just like, oh, I lost because, I didn't get lucky, or maybe this team just doesn't have the options for this event. But then I could apply certain teams like that to other events too. I think so. Yeah. At least that's how I view it. But yeah.
At the end of the day, you're always going to hear ba when you lose, right? Like it's still the same idea.
Yeah.
So it's like, like I said, I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. It's like, getting knocked out by the enemy and the enemy running away are just two different things. I wasn't really seeing it on a level of satisfaction. I was just kind of seeing it on a level of just being different, right? Just not what you're used to. But, I think that you bring up a good point where it's like, oh, they just said, they just said forget about it and left. Like, that's it. Like, that's. Like, I didn't feel like, and especially like if you're not reading what the stage does, like imagine you're somebody that has no idea what this fight's doing. You go in and you just see that bar filling up, and it's like, okay, well maybe you're thinking it's like a Fury meter or something, or like, oh, this event's gonna get super hard, and it's like you don't know what happened, and then Bulma just left and you lost. You're like, well, I still have full HP. Like she's not attacking, and you're like, you're not doing super attacks with full key. And also on top of that, with the Bulma fight, you go into that last phase where she is hitting like a modern boss. But the counter to that is you could stun lock her. So it's like, it goes both ways, but it's like you have to have all these gimmick things, and then, oh, by the way, when you're done with all that, you have a real fight to do.
I think people also include calling it a gimmick fight with the fact that, like you said, when you do get through the first few like gimmicks or like mechanics, you can then just like stun and seal and attack lower. So like none of the other really hard bosses in the game you can do that. Which again, goes back to what I was saying. It's not necessarily a bad thing to call it a gimmick fight, but like it's just weird because it's like you jump through hoops in the first couple of phases, and then as long as you can avoid that very common slot 1 super that does massive damage if you get the STR Bulma, you can then pretty much you'll get like a guaranteed W after that first slot, because like you said, actually it's a good point, right? Like there are some difficult events now that you would not be able to beat with certain teams, like Path to Power Kid Goku Youth Team. I did a run the other day on one of the challenge run streams. I beat the Bulma event with the GT Bosses team, because that team has
the debuffs.
All the debuffs, and it does have some Rainbow Orb changes and characters that have additionals and stuff like that. But that team build wouldn't beat any of the other like difficult endgame fights. But it does manage to do that
AGL
one.
Omega because of that.
Yeah,
because like you remember, so like during the 9th anniversary, like especially on the JP side of things, like it was like, oh wow, look, AGL Omega can spam debuffs on Cell Max. So is GT Bosses back? Absolutely not. It's just this fight in specific, you could call it a gimmick fight because of the way that his attacks are changing with his HP and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know, you get past the 4 turns or whatever, you could start lowering his defense, you can start debuffing him, and these things are going to add up. I had a thought, and then I just completely lost it. Oh, okay. So like, you know, we could kind of just, you know, I don't want to go on like a huge tangent here, but like, have we all played the Souls games here?
yes.
No.
Oh
So
yes.
okay. So people, I'll just give you an example, right? There's a fight in Elden Ring where you fight this big serpent, right? And it's like this whole crazy thing, but you get this badass spear that's like putting out like, you know, energy that's coming out of the spear, and you're stabbing it from range, and it's not meant to be that hard. It's supposed to be a spectacle, and they call that a gimmick fight in these Souls games, right? It's not a traditional hard boss where, you know, you're required to learn these advanced hand-eye coordinations and timings and boss patterns, and you still have to a degree in this fight, but they call it a gimmick fight because they're giving you this weapon, right? Where it's like it's going to be doing an extreme amount of damage to the boss and gives you range that you're typically not allowed to have with a melee weapon sort of idea, and that's where it kind of comes down to. So like by calling it a gimmick fight, it's sort of like dumbs it down on a skill level to a degree, right? You're like, oh, okay, this boss is really cool, but it's a gimmick fight. It's not supposed to be like this, you know, test of like willpower and you know, persistence like most Souls bosses are.
Yeah.
Right. So I think when people want to say like after they beat the Bulma fight it was hard, but then, you know, you're gonna have some cat on Twitter or like your friends say, but okay, it's a gimmick fight. Who cares? So I think that's kind of where that comes from.
I think one thing is that people like not using it, or like a lot of people that I see, but some people use the term gimmick fight to paint it as, oh, this fight is a gimmick fight, doesn't matter. Like,
right.
That's another thing. I think that's separate from this conversation.
Yeah, that's why I wanted.
Like
That's why I wanted to
for
be
sure
clear
pieces,
that like
right?
I wasn't saying it as a negative, and I'm not saying that like because it's a gimmick fight, it doesn't matter. Like, I do think it's weird to rate teams against because of that, right? Because you have to bring like rainbow orb changes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I
can't
just feel
say-
like other fights
Sorry.
will eventually include those things, and we've seen that already. So,
Yep.
Like the battle bombs thing, that's gonna be included in fights in the future for sure.
Yeah.
They're not- they usually like they've been expanding on these mechanics. So, yeah. I think this is a good discussion. I don't know if there's anything else y'all wanted to point out specifically.
I think when people like you, just to kind of like put the bow on it, right? It's like fine to call it like a regular fight, but I think that is not a fight that we are going to be using as like the bar for like, is this character good or not, right? It's like, because if this character doesn't have rainbow orb changers on their team, but they're phenomenal, that's not really the fault of the unit, right?
Yeah.
Or they don't get like a built-in additional super, but they literally can't like take any damage. It's like that character's still a tank, but the Bulma fight should not be the bar, right? Because when we think about some of the hardest fights in the past, right? Like what was the bar for a long time? It was Fusion Zamasu for the red zone, especially for global players, right?
because of the
It was
AoEs.
like, is this character good in this opening rotation simulator, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, because you can't use it to necessarily rate like an individual unit, because if we just look at like Buuhan, for example, he doesn't rainbow orb change or do additional supers. So he's a terrible unit for the Bulma fight. Even though you can obviously make a good team build with him as the leader, he himself in a vacuum, he's a terrible unit for that fight because he doesn't have anything that helps you beat the first two phases.
That's not a negative to him.
Exactly,
Like, that's the thing, right?
exactly. It's just the sake of the event itself. And the thing is, in other events, we talked about like other events have these mechanics, right? Because that's part of the take itself, right? That other fights have these mechanics. Well, other fights have mechanics that will lower your team's key, but you don't lose if you don't get a certain number of super attacks in that turn, right? So that's where like the big difference comes in, I think. But yeah, it's an interesting discussion. Like I say, it's not necessarily calling it a gimmick fight, I would say, is not necessarily trying to dismiss it or like use it as a negative thing. I just think compared to the way the other fights work, And I think Vilify expanded on that a fair bit, especially around the losing condition. It's just based on the way other fights work. It is just very, very different, which I think a lot of people find frustrating, I guess. But that doesn't
People don't
necessarily
like
make
change.
it bad. Yeah.
You know? It's
I
I think it's a fun discussion to be had though when the take isn't just like this character is in top 10. Everybody's like, yeah, probably not. It's like
Yeah.
you know, here it's like you can really have multiple perspectives, right? Like especially like once like now that it kind of sucks that Goku and Frieza isn't going to be like what it was when it comes out on Global, because I feel like that could have been a fun discussion as well. But like, you know, Global having like access to the movie bosses team and all these other things, it's just way different than what it was when it came out. But
Yeah.
that cycle is over in a month and a half here, so
Yep.
hopefully.
Well, hopefully so. We'll see. What the 10th anniversary stuff is like. So that's it for the trash takes. I mean, based on what I see in the chat, it is a total for L take. No, yeah,
Okay.
L take is 66%. W take is 33%.
That's better.
Yeah, it's
Again,
about
you
2/3,
doesn't
yeah.
add up to 100% because of the variable, whatever. But
Mhm.
I think that's fair, right? It really depends on how you view it. I think would say again, if it's a thing of you view all the fights as gimmick fights, that's fine. I just don't agree. I think it's all or none, in my opinion. But it depends on how you personally feel. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's just a gotcha game. Nothing really too serious to be taken from it. But of course, from here we will be going ahead and having Ningen read out all the donations, super chats y'all left for us, and we'll kind of wrap up from there. So Ningen, it's up to you.
Okay, so yeah, we are back. So yeah, shout out to everybody who did contribute this week for the podcast. We appreciate you guys and all the support. We've lost Vilify. Wait, there he is. Okay.
I was taking a sip of water.
But yeah, we'll shout out to everyone who helped to support the podcast this week. Keep the lights on. We appreciate you. So we have a $2 super chat from Philip Rodriguez. This is when we were talking about the banners. Global W Teq Bardock. Yeah, I
Scouter,
cannot
baby.
believe. Yeah, man. Like Roshi, we didn't get Topo back on Roshi's banner. Then we didn't get Roshi on the Buuhan banner. I think a lot of people really disappointed because obviously now that we're supposed to be synced, there was that banner that I think Global, we were expecting after not getting Topo on Roshi's banner, we were expecting to get him on, was it Slug? And both versions got physical Rosé instead. And I think people were quite surprised there was Rosé on Global. And so that made people kind of think, oh, well, I guess the banners are just going to be the same now all the time, even if that doesn't make sense for Global. And then they drop the next Dokkan Fest banner and it's not the same on Global. So definitely a bit disappointing, but we'll have to wait and see what they're going to do when it comes to Roshi's return or Topo's return even. Well, I guess he came back on the those Black Friday banners, and then there was a thing mentioning that he would be back again soon. So maybe he'll be on the New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest banner. I don't know. So... But yeah, Global Teq Bardock. Oof.
W.
Yeah. So shout out to Philip for that one. Shout out to Drace for the $5 super chat. He says, with the potential EZAs for the 7 years, what do you think the 10th anniversary leader skills will look like, considering 7 years will be the first 200% units to EZA? So I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts, because we've had this discussion on my streams quite a few times now. Like, I would go as far as to say I'm not even 100% convinced the 7 years will EZA, just because it is so soon for that. I know they've started this trend of EZAing the previous anniversary units, but like it's so soon for them, and they are the first 200% leads. I could see them when it comes to their leader skill. I could honestly see them just adding another 30% category or something. I don't think we're going to go over 200%, but what do you guys think?
I don't think we need it yet.
I think no, I think they're gonna use it. I just don't see why. I mean, they've always been doing it's always been 2 years before. No, it's 3 years before, right? Each time, like they're gonna be 3 years old by the time. I think it's enough.
Yeah.
Especially because we're almost done with all the 2021 and 2022, 2020 EZAs. By the way, if you
Shout
hear
out to Angel Vegeta.
I don't know if y'all hear in the background.
Yeah, I heard that. I thought that was my music for a second.
No, it's someone's outside mowing the grass.
So yeah.
No, but I would say if they're gonna make any changes to leader skill for a key, unless they do, I doubt that there'd be a leader skill increase for 10th anniversary, but there could be. And if they do that, like imagine 2 50% leaders, then they can increase it a little. But They could also do a thing where they just get rid of the 30% categories and they only leave the 200%.
That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Because like Carnival LRs have already like they've been doing that for 2 years now since they introduced them. And Jiren also like they opened Pandora's box, right? They're flirting with it, the double 200. I know it's like it doesn't. Really
I know it's
matter.
like 2 units or something, right? That is the only difference.
Oh, is there a character that's not on
I
it?
think it's just Jiren.
Yeah, I think it's only him so far, but it's because the 2 categories that he has, I think it's because they wanted you to be able to use like all the Universe 11 characters just get the extra like 1 key, but the categories because it's Universe 11 and it's a Universe Survival Saga.
Is he key? I didn't know he was key 4 for U11.
Yeah, there's like it's almost no difference basically.
That's what I was gonna say. Just like talking. That's why I was like loose with it on the categories, right? Because it would be like
it's not like it's 2 really separate categories that would actually be.
Is there
good,
a better
right?
example than just like U11 and Universe Survival Saga, right?
No.
I don't think there is. Yeah, because I'm trying to think of like one with like Goku's family, right?
But yeah, it'd be interesting if
for
the 10th
for the 7th
years.
anniversary LRs, they could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I think with the 7th anniversary LRs, you've formed this expectation where going into the anniversary, people are going to be like, ah, man, I didn't pull LR Gogeta and Vegeta. Like, oh, well, I have, the Gogeta 4 and the Blues to look forward to. And then when it turns out it's just, I don't know, Angel Vegeta who EZAs, people are going to be pissed. And they don't, like, why not, right? Like, this is supposed to be, like, the biggest celebration of the year.
Yeah.
Like, let's not regress in terms of, like, who we're EZAing, right? Because these are...
No, I get that.
Are these the most anticipated EZAs, like, ever? I don't know.
Probably. They'd have
Might be
to
one of them.
they'd have to try really hard for them to not be, like, 2 of the best units in the game, right? Because their base kit is already so good.
They have the guard already, like in there. They have the effective against all types at 24 key.
And yeah, the extra super, the transformations are cool. Like obviously their animations are still really good. Yeah.
Like there's. This is like because like we knew that UI Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta were going to be good, and lo and behold, they're both like top 3 when they came out, right?
Yeah.
So.
I hope what they do, big change for them would be guard for 3 turns instead of 1 turn.
Yes.
Yeah, that turn 3 fish turn, if you will. That's like the biggest. Like even on release, that was a big drawback with them.
Yep.
But they can always just like Sorry, I interrupted you, Glenn.
No, you're good. The like even when they came out, right? Like there was the unit power creep of those 2 characters, and then the fight power creep even power crept Gogeta and Vegeta, or not Vegeta, the Blues, right? Because that AoE super from Broly was still taking them out. So it was just kind of one of those things. So hopefully in the future, they give them extra defensive utility that isn't just dodging and the damage reduction, so they can actually contend with these supers, right?
Yeah.
Because Gogeta also couldn't counter the supers when they came out, and then they eventually fixed that.
They could also not change it, and it's like, oh, they're intended to float off turn 1, and then you transform in turn 4. Like could be what they're thinking of. Maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, if you float them off turn 3, you'll get an extra super attack in that turn.
Yeah, but they got to build up.
I was gonna say that's the problem with those kind of units
is
you want to stack.
Yeah.
Is that worth the is the 1 extra super worth the floating off and not getting like the extra 2 on the next turn though?
Well, I mean the idea is that like the main anniversary characters will be better to keep on rotation.
Yeah, true. And I suppose it depends how powerful they make the then transformed versions, right? Because if they're strong enough that you can just get them out on turn 4 and go crazy, especially in events that maybe are a bit shorter, then I suppose it would still be fine. But
I mean, ideally, like I said, the 3-turn guard would be awesome, but they could be like, oh, they're meant, like they could design them as meant to be floaters on those new teams, and they'd be like, oh yeah, so it doesn't really matter. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I 3-turn guard would be good, just because that again, turn 3 was always an issue for them.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. So shout out to Drace for that one. Shout out to Norbert for upping his channel membership. Lobster Squad member for 29 months. He says LR Kid Buu will be the final LR of the game, releasing in 6 years, and a week later the game shuts down.
I've seen that one a lot because I did a short on LR Kid Buu, and everybody's like, "Yeah, wouldn't he be funny for the final release?" I'm like, "Listen, the final release has to be Bye Guys Goku. That's what they got because he's a meme too."
I think it'd be funny that they will finally release LR Kid Buu, but he's just going to be like a Battlefield LR or like a Prime Battle LR.
No.
That's how I think that'd be hilarious for the meme.
Come on, we're doing Ani Laza and King Cold and Mecha Frieza. What are we talking about here? Kid Buu? No. They want money from Kid Buu.
They know people are waiting, so I guess we'll see. But hopefully he will be a hype release. So shout out to Philip Rodriguez, the $10 super chat says, what would yours and the community's reaction be if Dokkan released an LR Goku and Vegeta that fused into Vegito or Gogeta for the anniversary? Swipe up or down to pick, or a new mechanic. So something we talked about before. I know somebody, I don't know if Halvard retweeted it or something as well, because I know he does calcs. I'm not sure if he's involved in any of the custom stuff, but I saw somebody posting it. Like someone tested out on the private server where you can like make your own units, that a unit can have a standby and an active skill like ready to use at the same time, and you just swipe up or down. So that's one of the things that I've talked about a few times on my stream, is the idea for an anniversary character where you can like either choose the fusion, and it's like, say one of the units is Super Saiyan Goku and Vegeta, and they either turn into Super Gogeta or Super Vegito, or maybe it's like base Goku and Vegeta and they always transform into Gogeta, but you get to choose whether it's Super Saiyan or Blue, depending whether you go up or down. And then obviously the other unit would be the opposite. I think something like that would be pretty cool. But what do you guys think is the... Well, it says, what would yours or the community and the community's reaction be if that was the anniversary like mechanic? So what do you guys think of that?
I'd be like, whoa. Yeah, that's cool.
That's
like,
it.
Damn,
That's
like...
the reaction right there. Whoa.
Yeah. It's like, man, they're really they're trying new things. They're thinking outside the box. But I don't know. I think that like I think the thought process from the business end of it is like, why release LR Gogeta and Vegito in the same character when we can do LR Gogeta and LR Vegito, and people got to summon for them both?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way I would see it would be like one of them would be like Super Saiyan and they transform into Gogeta or Vegito, and then the other one would be Blue and they transform into Gogeta or Vegito.
So would they have separate animations on that? Because that would be a lot of animations per character.
It's true.
I don't know.
We'll
like
see.
It's like they only have so many resources they can put into these things. I don't know.
It's 10th anniversary.
I'm not saying they should hold back. It's just
They'll cook.
Yeah, because I guess if you think about the 7 years, they have an intro and then 2 supers, then a transformation condition, 2 supers, and an active skill. Yeah, so there's quite a lot.
Think about it, right? Because if it's an LR, there would be like an 18 key for the blue version. There'd be an 18 key for the Super Saiyan or the Gogeta version, the Vegito version, a 12 key for both of them.
Yeah.
Right? Probably an active skill on top of both of those for like a finishing move. I don't know. It just sounds like a lot. I'm not saying they wouldn't do it, but I think if they were to, like, I don't think they would do 2 of those in one celebration. That sounds like a Tanabata LR.
We'll see.
Yeah, potentially.
But yeah, it'd be a cool idea just though in general.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah. It's just tough to like actually execute it, I think.
Yeah. True. Well, I guess we'll see. Definitely an interesting idea, but we are yet to have a unit that actually has that, whether it's anniversary or LR or what. But we know it's something that can be done mechanically to have a standby or an active skill, but we have not seen it yet. So shout out to Philip for that. Shout out to Drace for another $5 super chat. He says, what's a unit that you dislike simply for showing up multiple times more than any other unit in a banner? Teq Pan shouldn't exist. Yeah, no, Drace has Teq Pan PTSD because he pulls her multiple times every time she's on a banner rather than pulling the new unit. So do you guys have a unit that shows up all the time for you, or?
Oh man, you got me like digging back to when I used to spend a lot of money. I don't really anymore.
I mean, recently in Slug's banner, I kept getting physical rolls. I rainbowed him up this banner alone.
Well, the certified hood classic for literally everybody is transforming Goku.
Yeah.
Transforming Vegeta.
Oh, the number of times that transforming Goku was on a banner as well.
Vegeta is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just like, because his stupid ass leader skill, bro. They always got to toss him on banners, man.
Yep.
They're like, oh, he's a pure Saiyans lead. You must want him, right? Oh my god. One that haunted me for a long time. In Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 3 Goku.
Okay.
I've pulled him more times than I'd like to say. 6th anniversary, I had some nightmare summons for my own standards. I think AGL UI took like 2,500 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I probably pulled all those featured LRs and TURs 6, 7, 8 times. And I was like, I guess I'm not doing that again. Like, it was rough, but
Yeah,
I'm
there's
sure
one a recent one for me is the STR Carnival Goku. Like every time there's a Carnival banner that he's on, I pull him multiple times before I pull the new unit. I have his LR, TUR, and SSR rainbowed.
What's a
just because I pulled him so many times.
Who's a hero's character that you have PTSD from? Because you just have like, and not Warrior in Black. That doesn't count.
Oh God, yeah, we'd.
You had to have pulled someone 15 times, like during the summons, right?
It's usually just, I mean, it's only really because it's the once a year thing, so I guess it's not really as noticeable. But yeah, every year there's one that I pull. So by the time I'd finished pulling all of the copies before I accidentally wasted the Warrior in Black ones, I think I had like 15. I think it was Demigra was the one I pulled the most.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world, I guess, for that banner because all the heroes units require Kais. So at least the extra copies you can then just use as those resources.
That's always something that flies under the radar, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, with these heroes characters, you're going to be pulling, like, especially if you're someone that doesn't have all of them, it's like, you're going to be pulling 15 new characters. But guess what? You think there's a, let's sing this one out, right? Power of Tree, Universal, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku. You think there's another version of that in the game you could farm?
Yeah,
No.
Exactly.
So it's like it comes down to like, you know, you might be going into the hero celebration thinking like, oh, I have 200 Kais, and before you know it, you're like, oh my god, I have like 8.
Yeah, it's like
So it's tough.
yeah, it's like almost 100 because if you include the EZAs as well, needing the extra 5 like for each one.
And they don't hold back on those in terms of quantity. Like the quality could be, you know, thumbs down, but I mean, so what do you think about God Trunks?
Anyways, let's move on to the next one.
So shout out to Drace. Weeble Class with the $10 super chat says, if you could only have one of these for the 10th anniversary, which would you choose? The first anniversary Super EZAs, so STR Gojira and Inch and Ember, or the 7th anniversary EZAs?
Oh, that's free and easy. What are we talking about?
7th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say just because
we ain't stuck in the 90s. Come on.
it would be super cool to get those Super EZAs, obviously, but I mean, come on, the 7 years are so good and like will be so good.
Animation quality,
Dude,
stuff like that.
The LR Super Saiyan 4s, I think, still have like 2 of my favorite animations in the whole game, which is their 18 key, which is like the final shine, and then the crazy golden dragon fist thing, and then Gogeta's active, like the big bang attack thing. Like those are probably 2 of my favorite animations in the whole game.
I vividly remember the dragon fist when like, so we were doing like a whole stream. And we were like reacting to the animations as like, you know, like when the data download hits or like, you know, this is kind of like an old way of doing it, but Kawhi would tweet them and it would be like from the banner assets and stuff like that. I remember seeing the 18 key on the 4s, and that literally got me out of my seat seeing the dragon fist.
That looks so good.
I had been wanting that version of Super Saiyan 4 in the Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Goku in the game for a long amount of time, right? And like finally getting that, not only in terms of like, you know, being an exciting animation, but the quality of an anniversary LR, like, oh, like that was a win-win for sure.
To be honest, we still need a new version of that.
Yeah,
we do. Yeah, I mean that I love that moment.
Yeah, and
right?
the tech,
It's
like tech full power.
I'll finish it or whatever, right?
Yeah, tech full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. That like specific Dragon Fist he does against Omega, like a new version of that would be super good. But yeah, I think hands down the 7th anniversary LRs. That's a nice and easy one.
That's a nostalgia pick if you go with year 1 Gogeta, just because of what he represented in terms of relatively the game, right? And it's like Janemba, like that Super EZA could be extremely valuable because he's like, you want to talk about like aging characters, especially for EZAs. He's probably like top 5 all time with how good he was for how long he was good. He's obviously not good anymore, but that guard, the dodge that he has, he was good for a long time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Like STR Janemba EZA, and we were still like, is the Int one better? Like, that was a conversation. Those were years apart.
Yeah, so shout out to Weaver Class for that one. I think it's a pretty easy one, but let us know in chat which you would choose. We have Prof re-upping his membership, Ningen Club member for 19 months. He says, y'all are not ready for the Quad LR Goku anniversary. That comes directly from the desk of Amatsu there.
Don't test him.
He'll do it.
Base Gokus, let's go.
Oh god! And then last but not least, this could be a trash take in of itself. $2 super chat from Drace. Hashtag bring back chain battle. Goat mode that needs a 2.0.
Yeah.
You don't miss chain battle. You miss the stones.
No, exactly. People don't miss chain battle. They miss the rewards from chain battle. That's
I liked team building for chain battle.
No.
You like team building when you had the Truth DT on your friends list. You made it really easy.
I liked chain. I, for one, had fun with chain battle.
I like the sense. Yeah, I think the sense of unity that it brought amongst the community and the willingness to help each other out was good. But
That's a
You don't miss the friend system. You don't miss the pick 3.
No.
You miss the orbs and you miss the stones.
Exactly. Yep.
I don't know. It was kind of engaging. But anyways.
I'm dying on that hill.
But yeah, that's it for the contributions for this week. So shout out to everybody. We appreciate you. And yeah, that's back over to you for the wrap up, Minato.
Well, there we go, guys. That is all there is to discuss today. Again, part 2 LR next week, World Tournament, etc. So there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, even by the next episode, we could have some semblance of hints towards maybe what the New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest is going to be.
Yep.
Right. The next episode is going to be on the 20th. The New Year's Dual Dokkan Fest is like 24th to 26th. So it'll be right the week after. But yeah, we hope you guys did enjoy the podcast episode this time. We'll be back again in those 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll see what actually ends up happening for New Year's, part 2 LR, etc., etc.
Yep.
Signing off, Minato Splash, and of course, Ningen and Vilify.
I hope you guys enjoyed my hair getting messier as the show went on.
I did. Peace out.
Y'all.
See you later.